There's a quality to your thoughts that you've never heard before. Not the content of them, not what you're thinking about, but the sound of them, the texture, the way they move through your mind when they're not running from something, not bracing against something, not preparing for something. When your thoughts are finally, actually safe. You didn't know thoughts had a sound. You thought thinking was just thinking, the constant stream of words and images and associations that fill your mind from the moment you wake until you finally, exhaustedly, fall asleep. But that wasn't thinking. That was survival thinking. That was threat assessment thinking. That was the mental equivalent of constantly looking over your shoulder, scanning for danger, preparing for the worst. Real thinking, safe thinking, sounds different, feels different, moves differently through your consciousness. It's quieter, for one thing. There's space between thoughts, actual space, silence that isn't uncomfortable, pauses that don't immediately fill with anxiety about what you should be thinking about. Instead, your thoughts meander, they wander. They go sideways instead of always forward. They explore tangents just because tangents are interesting. They don't have an agenda. They don't have a goal. They're just thinking for the pleasure of thinking, for the curiosity of it. This is new. This is so new, you're not sure what to make of it. You're used to thoughts that have purpose. Thoughts that solve problems, thoughts that analyze situations, thoughts that prepare you for what might go wrong, thoughts that review what already went wrong, thoughts that plan how to prevent future wrong. But these thoughts, these safe thoughts, they're not trying to do anything. They're not working. They're not protecting you. They're just being, just existing, just moving through your mind. Like clouds moving through sky, appearing, drifting, dissolving, replaced by other clouds that are just as purposeless, just as beautiful. And it's strange. At first, it's deeply strange, almost uncomfortable, because your mind has been a tool for so long, a tool for survival, a tool for managing threat, a tool for staying one step ahead of disaster. And now it's not a tool. Now it's just a mind. Thinking because that's what minds do. Wandering because wandering is natural. Being curious because curiosity is the default state of consciousness when consciousness feels safe enough to be curious. You think about things you haven't thought about in years. Childhood memories that aren't traumatic, just ordinary memories. That time you found a perfect shell on the beach. The way your grandmother's house smelled. The feeling of grass under your bare feet. You think about ideas that serve no purpose. You wonder about things. What would it be like to live in a different era? How do birds know where to migrate? What makes certain combinations of sound beautiful? You don't need answers. You're just wondering, just thinking, just being curious. You notice things about your own thinking, the way certain ideas connect to other ideas, the associative leaps your mind makes, the patterns in how you process information, and you're not judging it, not trying to make your thinking better or more efficient or more logical, just noticing, just being interested in your own consciousness. This is what safety sounds like in your mind. Not silence, not absence of thought, but thought that's free to be what it is instead of what it needs to be to keep you safe. Your mind is playing. That's what this is. Your mind is playing. And you didn't know your mind could play. You thought play was something children did with toys. You didn't know that minds could play too. That thinking itself could be playful, that consciousness could explore just for the sake of exploration. But it can, and it is, and it's beautiful. It's so beautiful that sometimes you just sit and listen to your own thoughts with something like wonder, because these are your thoughts, your consciousness, your mind, and it sounds like this when it's safe. It sounds like music, like poetry, like the gentle movement of something that's finally free to move however it wants. You're not afraid of your thoughts anymore. You're not monitoring them for danger. You're not censoring them for appropriateness. You're not managing them for productivity. You're just letting them be, letting them move, letting them exist. And in that letting, in that allowance, in that safety, your mind is revealing what it's always been underneath the survival thinking. It's revealing itself as something beautiful, something creative, something curious, something that wants to explore and wonder and meander and play. Your mind is safe, and safe minds sound like this: quiet, curious, playful, free, like water moving in a stream, like wind moving through trees, like natural movement that doesn't need direction because it knows where it's going instinctively, organically, perfectly. You're listening to your own thoughts, really listening, not managing them, not directing them, not judging them, just listening. And they're beautiful. They've always been beautiful. You just couldn't hear it until now, until they were finally safe enough to be themselves. This is what your mind sounds like when it's not afraid, when it's not protecting you, when it's not preparing you, when it's just being, just thinking, just existing in the quiet place it goes when it's finally safe. Listen, just listen to your own thoughts, to your own consciousness, to the quiet, beautiful sound of your own mind when it's free. You're discovering something strange. You don't need to know everything anymore. Not knowing used to feel dangerous. Not knowing meant being unprepared. Not knowing meant being vulnerable. Not knowing meant something bad could happen and you wouldn't see it coming, so you needed to know. Needed to figure things out. Needed to have answers. Needed to understand everything so you could predict everything, so you could prepare for everything. And your mind worked overtime trying to know, trying to figure out, trying to solve the unsolvable, trying to understand things that maybe were unmeant to be understood, or could unbe understood, or did unneed to be understood. But you couldn't stop, because not knowing felt like falling, like standing at the edge of something vast and dark, with no idea what was below or if there was a bottom at all. And now you're learning to stand at that edge without needing to know what's below. You're learning to be okay with not knowing. You're learning that not knowing isn't the same as being in danger. There are questions you use to obsess over, questions about the future, questions about other people's motivations, questions about yourself, who you are, what you're supposed to do, whether you're doing it right. And those questions used to consume you. You'd turn them over and over in your mind, examining them from every angle, trying to find the answer, trying to figure it out, trying to know. But now you can hold a question without needing to answer it. You can wonder about something without needing to resolve it. You can not know and be okay not knowing. This is new. This feels revolutionary, because your whole life has been about knowing, about having answers, about being prepared, about figuring things out before they figure you out. But figuring things out takes energy, constant energy, exhausting energy. And sometimes, often, there are things that can't be figured out, things that don't have answers, things that are unknowable or ambiguous or too complex to reduce to understanding. And trying to know the unknowable is torture. It's mental spinning. It's your mind trying to grab onto something that keeps slipping away. It's the cognitive equivalent of trying to hold water in your hands, So now you're practicing something different. You're practicing not knowing. You're practicing being in the question instead of rushing to the answer. You re-practicing uncertainty as a state that can be inhabited instead of a problem that needs to be solved. Someone asks you a question you don't have an answer to, and instead of scrambling to form an answer, you say, "I don't know," and you mean it, and it feels good. It feels like relief, like putting down a weight you didn't realize you were carrying. You have a problem you can't solve, and instead of spiraling trying to solve it, you just don't solve it. You let it be unsolved. You trust that either a solution will emerge or it won't, and either way you'll figure it out when you get there. You wonder about something, about the future, about a relationship, about a decision you need to make, and instead of immediately trying to figure it out, you just wonder. You let the wondering be enough. You let the question exist without the answer. And in that space between needing to know and not knowing, there's peace, actual peace, the peace of not having to have everything figured out, the peace of being okay with uncertainty, the peace of trusting that you don't need all the answers right now. Maybe you never need all the answers. Maybe knowing everything isn't actually safety. Maybe the trying to know, the constant mental effort to predict and prepare and figure out, maybe that was never keeping you safe. Maybe that was just exhausting you. And not knowing is rest. Not knowing is letting your mind stop working so hard. Not knowing is trusting that you're capable of handling things as they come, instead of having to prepare for every possibility. You don't have to know what's going to happen. You don't have to understand everyone's motivations. You don't have to have your whole life figured out. You don't have to know who you are in some fixed, permanent way. You can just be here, in the not knowing, in the uncertainty, in the mystery of existence that doesn't require understanding to be lived. This is what safety feels like. Not the safety of knowing, but the safety of being okay not knowing. The safety of trusting yourself to handle whatever comes without having to predict it. The safety of resting in uncertainty instead of fighting against it. Your mind is quieter here, in this space of not knowing, because it's not working so hard. It's not trying to figure everything out. It's not spinning and analyzing and preparing and predicting. It's just being curious, being open, being okay with mystery, being at peace with uncertainty. And peace with uncertainty is a kind of safety you never knew existed. A safety that doesn't come from control or preparation or knowing. A safety that comes from trust. Trust in yourself, trust in life, trust that you'll be okay even when you don't know what's coming. You're okay not knowing. You're actually okay with it. And that's everything. That's freedom. That's rest. That S, the quiet place your mind goes when it's finally safe enough to stop trying to know everything, not knowing, and being okay. And resting in the space between, and discovering that the space between is where peace lives, where safety lives, where your mind can finally rest. You're learning that you don't have to be hard anymore. The hardness was protection, armor, a shell you built around yourself because the world felt dangerous and soft things get hurt and you couldn't afford to get hurt one more time. So you hardened, you toughened up, you developed edges, you learned to be strong in a way that meant being impermeable, unbreakable, untouchable. Nothing gets in, nothing gets to you, nothing hurts you because you don't let it. And it worked, sort of. You survived. You made it through things that might have destroyed you if you'd been soft. You protected yourself from pain by numbing yourself to everything. But hardness has a cost. Hardness keeps pain out, but it also keeps everything else out. Joy, connection, beauty, love, all the good things that require softness to receive, all the tender things that can only enter through an open heart. And now you're discovering that you can soften, that it's safe to soften, that the world isn't as dangerous as you thought it was, or you're stronger than you thought you were, or maybe both. You're discovering that soft isn't the same as weak, that you can be soft and strong simultaneously, that vulnerability is actually a kind of strength, that letting things in, letting yourself feel, letting yourself care, letting yourself be touched by life, that's brave, not weak. So you're softening, slowly, carefully, testing whether it's actually safe, letting the armor crack, letting the walls come down, letting yourself be the tender thing you've been protecting all along. And it feels terrifying. It feels like you're making yourself vulnerable to all the things you've been protecting yourself from. It feels like you're taking off protective equipment in the middle of a war zone. But you're not in a war zone. That's what you're realizing. You've been living as if you were in constant danger when the danger was actually in the past. You've been protecting yourself from threats that are unpresent anymore, or never were as constant as your nervous system learned to believe. And now you can soften. Now you can let your guard down. Now you can be tender without it being dangerous. Now you can have a soft heart without getting destroyed. Your face is softer. You can see it in the mirror. The tension in your jaw has released. The hardness around your eyes has melted. You look like yourself again. Like the version of yourself that existed before you learned you had to be hard. Your body is softer, less braced, less held, less ready for impact. Your shoulders aren't up by your ears. Your stomach isn't clenched. Your chest isn't constricted. You're breathing in a way that suggests your body believes it's safe to breathe. Your heart is softer. You're feeling things again. Not just the hard feelings, anger, frustration, determination, but the soft feelings too. Tenderness, affection, gentle sadness, the kind of emotions that require you to be open, vulnerable, undefended. You're crying more. Not sad crying necessarily, just crying. Your eyes water when you see something beautiful, when you hear something moving, when you feel something tender. Your heart is soft enough now to be moved by things. And being moved means being soft enough to respond, to feel, to let things touch you. You're laughing more to real laughter, the kind that comes from genuine delight rather than social obligation, the kind that makes your belly move, the kind that surprises you because you didn't know you could still laugh like that. You're letting people in, actually in, past the walls, past the defenses, into the soft, vulnerable, tender parts of yourself. And some people hurt you. That still happens. Softness means being hurtable, but most people don't hurt you. Most people are gentle with your softness. Most people honor it. And the hurts that do happen, they don't destroy you. Because soft isn't the same as fragile. You can be soft and resilient. You can be tender and strong. You can be vulnerable and capable of healing. You're learning that softness is actually your natural state. Hardness was learned. Softness is what you were before you learned you had to be hard. Softness is who you are underneath the protection. And now the protection is softening. The armor is melting. The walls are coming down. And underneath, there you are. Soft, tender, vulnerable, beautiful in your vulnerability, strong in your softness. You don't have to be hard anymore. You don't have to protect yourself so intensely. You don't have to be impotent. You can let things in. You can let yourself feel. You can let your heart be soft. Soft heart, soft body, soft thoughts, soft responses, softness in how you treat yourself, softness in how you treat others, softness as a way of being instead of hardness as a way of surviving. You're safe being soft. You're allowed to be soft. You're discovering that soft is where the good things live. That soft is where connection happens. That soft is where you can actually feel your life instead of just defending against it. So soften, keep softening. Let the hardness melt. Let the armor fall away. Let yourself be the tender thing you've always been underneath the protection. You're safe now, safe enough to be soft, safe enough to be tender, safe enough to have a heart that can be touched, moved, affected by the world around you. Soften, be soft, stay soft. This is who you really are. This is what you're like when you're safe. This softness, this tenderness, this beautiful, vulnerable, strong softness. You're allowed to be soft. You've always been allowed. And now, finally, you're giving yourself permission. Soft, finally, soft, safely soft, beautifully soft. You used to think stillness was emptiness. That if your mind was still, it meant nothing was happening. That stillness was the absence of thought, the absence of feeling, the absence of anything worth experiencing. So you avoided stillness. You filled every moment. You kept your mind busy. You stayed in motion, physically, mentally, emotionally. You never just sat with nothing, never just existed without input, and emptiness felt like death, like cessation, like ceasing to exist if you stopped moving, stopped thinking, stopped doing. But now you're discovering something. Stillness isn't empty. Stillness is full, so full, fuller than motion, fuller than thinking, fuller than all the doing and consuming and staying busy. You sit in stillness and you discover it's full of life, full of sensation, full of awareness, full of the quiet hum of existence that you couldn't hear when you were constantly moving. You can feel your body in stillness, really feel it. Not just the pain or discomfort or the signals that something needs attention, but the whole body, the life in it, the aliveness, the way it breathes without you directing it, the way your heart beats, the way blood moves, the way you exist as a physical form in space. You can hear things in stillness, not just external sounds, but internal sounds, the sound of your own breath, the sound of your thoughts when they're not rushing, the sound of silence, which isn't actually silent, but has its own quality, its own texture, its own presence. You can sense things in stillness, subtle things, the energy in a room, the quality of light, the way air moves against your skin, the presence of your own consciousness, observing, witnessing, being aware of being aware. Stillness is full of presence. That's what you're discovering. When you're still, you're more present than when you're moving. More here, more actually experiencing this moment, instead of rushing through it toward the next moment. And presence is everything. Presence is what you've been missing. Presence is what makes life feel like living, instead of just passing time. Presence is what allows you to actually be here, instead of always being in your head, in the past, in the future, anywhere but here. You sit in stillness and time changes. It slows down. Or maybe it doesn't slow down, but you slow down enough to perceive it differently, to notice that each moment is actually quite long, that there's space in moments. That time is untaged, rushing forward, dragging you with it, but is actually moving at a pace that can be experienced if you re-still enough to experience it. You sit in stillness and you discover thoughts you didn't know you had. Not the surface thoughts, not the constant chatter, but deeper thoughts, quieter thoughts. The thoughts that can only emerge when the noisy thoughts quiet down. You sit in stillness, and you feel feelings you didn't know you were feeling. Feelings that have been there all along, but that you couldn't access because you were too busy, too distracted, too defended against feeling. And some of those feelings are uncomfortable. Stillness brings you face to face with things you've been avoiding. Grief, fear, loneliness, the uncomfortable truths you've been running from by staying in motion. But stillness also brings you face to face with beautiful things: joy, peace, contentment, love. The gentle, quiet, easily missed feelings that exist underneath the louder emotions. Stillness teaches you that you're okay, that you can sit with yourself and be okay, that you don't need constant input to exist, that you don't need to be constantly doing to be valuable, that existence itself is enough. You exist in stillness, and it's enough. Just existing, just being here, just being aware of being here, just being alive in this moment. That's enough. That's everything. Stillness isn't empty. Stillness is where the fullness lives. Stillness is where you can actually experience your life instead of just moving through it. Stillness is where presence happens, where awareness happens, where being actually alive happens. You're learning to be still, not forcing stillness, not achieving stillness, just allowing it, just stopping long enough to discover what's here when you stop. And what's here is everything, everything you've been looking for by moving, everything you've been searching for by staying busy, everything you've been trying to find somewhere else. It's here, in stillness, in the quiet, in the simple act of being present for your own existence. Stillness isn't empty. Stillness is full, and you're full, full of life, full of presence, full of the quiet, beautiful aliveness that can only be experienced when you're still enough to notice it. Be still. Discover the fullness. Discover that you've been full all along. Discover that stillness isn't absence. Stillness is presence. And presence is everything. You're learning something radical. You're allowed to just exist, not achieve, not produce, not prove, not become, not improve, just exist, just be here, just take up space in the world without justifying that space through accomplishment. This feels wrong. It feels like breaking the fundamental rule of existence, the rule that says you have to earn your place. You have to justify your life through what you do, what you create, what you contribute. You have to be useful to deserve to be here. But that rule is a lie. It's always been a lie, and you're starting to see through it. You don't have to earn existence. You don't have to justify your life. You don't have to be useful to deserve to be here. You're here. That's it. That's the only requirement. Being here, being alive, being, and just being is enough. Has always been enough, will always be enough, whether you achieve anything or not, whether you produce anything or not, whether you're useful or not. You're allowed to just exist. You're allowed to just be. You're allowed to take up space without apologizing for it. You're allowed to consume resources, food, air, space, attention, without having to produce something in return. You're allowed to have a life that's just a life, not an impressive life, not a meaningful life. Not a life that contributes something important to the world, just a life. An ordinary, regular, unremarkable life, and that's okay. That's more than okay. That's exactly what you're allowed to have. You're learning to just be here without an agenda, without a plan, without a goal, without trying to become something or achieve something or prove something, just being here, just existing, just allowing yourself to be alive without that aliveness needing to mean something or contribute something or produce something. You sit and you're not being productive. You're not resting so you can be productive later. You're not recovering so you can achieve more. You're just sitting, just being, just existing in this moment, without this moment needing to be about anything. You exist without purpose, and it feels strange, uncomfortable almost, because you've been taught that existence needs purpose, that life needs meaning, that you need a reason to be here. But what if you don't need a reason? What if existence itself is the reason? What if being alive is purpose enough? What if you don't have to justify your life through meaning or achievement or contribution? What if you're just allowed to be here, just allowed to be alive, just allowed to take up space and breathe air and exist in the world without owing anyone anything in return? That's what you're discovering, that you're allowed to exist without purpose, without meaning, without achievement. Just exist, just be here. And it's not selfish, it's not lazy, it's not wasteful. It's just existence, the way a tree exists, the way a bird exists, the way anything exists, not because it's useful or meaningful or contributing something, but just because it's here, just because it's alive, just because existence is its own justification. You're like that. You exist because you exist. You're here because you're here. You're alive because you're alive. And that's enough. That's all the reason you need. You don't have to do anything with your life to make it valid. You don't have to become anything to make yourself acceptable. You don't have to achieve anything to deserve to be here. You're here. That's it. That's the whole requirement. That's the only justification you need. You exist. Therefore, you deserve to exist. Therefore, you're allowed to exist. Therefore, your existence is valid. This is permission. Permission you've been waiting for. Permission to just be. Permission to exist without achieving. Permission to be alive without justifying that life through productivity or contribution or meaning. You have that permission. You've always had it. You're giving it to yourself now. Permission to just exist. Permission to just be here. Permission to take up space. Permission to be alive without owing anything in return. Just exist. Just be here. That's all. That's everything. That's all you need to do. Just exist. Just be alive. Just be here in the world, taking up space, breathing air, being exactly what you are. A human, existing, for no reason except that you exist. And that's enough. That's more than enough. That's everything. You're allowed to just exist. You've always been allowed, and now you know it. Now you're living it. Now you're experiencing what it feels like to exist without needing to justify that existence. It feels like freedom, like relief, like finally putting down a burden you've been carrying your whole life. The burden of needing to earn your existence. The burden of needing to justify your life. The burden of needing to be useful to deserve to be here. You don't need to earn it. You don't need to justify it. You don't need to be useful. You just need to be, and you are. You're here, you're existing, and that's enough. Finally enough. Always enough. Forever enough. Just existing, just being, just here. You're allowed. You've always been allowed. And now you're finally giving yourself permission. Permission to just exist. Permission to just be. Permission to be here without apology, without justification, without needing to prove anything. Just exist. Just be. just here. That's all. That's everything. That's enough. You've been treating your thoughts like problems to solve. Every anxious thought, you try to make it go away. Every sad thought, you try to replace it with a happy one. Every negative thought, you try to reframe it into something positive. Every uncomfortable thought, you try to fix it, change it, make it into something more acceptable. You've been taught that thoughts are things you control, that you can choose your thoughts, that you can think positive and stay optimistic and focus on the good. That if you're having uncomfortable thoughts, it means you're doing something wrong. But thoughts don't work that way. Thoughts aren't controllable like that. Thoughts arise. They appear. They move through your consciousness like weather moves through sky. You don't control weather. You don't control thoughts. And trying to control them, trying to fix them, change them, make them into something else, that's exhausting. That's a constant battle with your own mind. That's trying to force your consciousness to be something it's not. And now you're learning something different. You're learning that thoughts don't need fixing. Thoughts are just thoughts. They arise, they exist, they pass. And none of that needs to be managed or controlled or fixed. An anxious thought appears. Instead of trying to make it go away, you just notice it. Oh, there's an anxious thought. Interesting. And then it passes. Or it doesn't pass. Either way, you're not fighting with it. You're not trying to fix it. You're just letting it be what it is. A sad thought appears. Instead of trying to replace it with a happy thought, you just allow it. Sadness is here, okay? Sadness is allowed. Sadness is part of being human. And then maybe the sadness passes. Or maybe it stays. Either way, you're not making it wrong. You're not trying to fix it. A negative thought appears. Instead of trying to reframe it, you just let it exist. Sometimes thoughts are negative. Sometimes minds generate pessimistic thoughts, or critical thoughts, or thoughts that aren't helpful or constructive. That's okay. That's normal. That's what minds do. You're learning to have thoughts without identifying with them. To let thoughts move through your consciousness without believing that every thought is true or important or meaningful. To recognize that thinking is just something your mind does, like breathing is something your body does, and none of it needs to be controlled or perfected or fixed. Thoughts are just thoughts. They're not facts. They're not you. They're not commands you have to obey. They're just mental events, arising, existing briefly, passing away, replaced by other thoughts that will also arise and pass. And you can watch this happen. You can observe your own thinking without being completely identified with it. You can have the thought, I'm not good enough, without believing it's true. You can have the thought, something bad is going to happen, without treating it as prophecy. You can have any thought and just let it be a thought, just a temporary mental event, just something your mind is doing, not a problem to fix, not an enemy to fight, not something that needs to be changed or controlled or made into something else. This is freedom. This is actual freedom. Not freedom from uncomfortable thoughts. Those will always arise. But freedom from the obligation to fix them. Freedom from the constant battle with your own mind. Freedom from treating your thoughts like problems that need solving. Your mind can think whatever it thinks, and you can just let it. You can just be the space in which thoughts arise and pass. You can just be the awareness that notices thinking without being completely consumed by it. Anxious thoughts? Let them be anxious. Sad thoughts? Let them be sad. Negative thoughts? Let them be negative. Uncomfortable thoughts? Let them be uncomfortable. None of it needs fixing. None of it needs changing. None of it needs to be different than it is. Thoughts are just thoughts, and thoughts are allowed. All thoughts, even the uncomfortable ones, even the ones you've been taught are bad or wrong or negative, even the ones you'd prefer not to have, even the ones that scare you, they're all allowed. They're all just thoughts. They're all just temporary mental events that arise and pass like everything else arises and passes. You don't have to fix your thoughts. You don't have to control them. You don't have to make them into something they're not. You can just let them be what they are. Just thoughts, just thinking, just the natural activity of a mind doing what minds do. And in that letting, in that allowing, in that not fighting, there's peace, real peace. Not the peace of having only good thoughts, but the peace of being okay with whatever thoughts arise. The peace of not being at war with your own mind. Your mind is allowed to think whatever it thinks, and you're allowed to just let it, just notice it, just be the space in which thinking happens without needing to control it or fix it or make it into something else. Thoughts don't need fixing. Thoughts are just thoughts, and you're free, free to let them be, free to stop fighting, free to just be here, aware, noticing your mind, doing what minds do. That's the freedom, that's the peace. That S, the quiet place your mind goes when it's safe enough to stop trying to control itself. Just thoughts, just thinking, just being, just here, just free. There are memories you've been avoiding for years, decades maybe. Memories that hurt too much to look at. Memories that threaten to overwhelm you if you let them in. Memories you pushed down, locked away, refused to acknowledge because acknowledging them felt dangerous. And now something's changing. Now you can look at them. Not all at once, not all of them, but some, slowly, carefully. You can reach toward memories that used to be untouchable and find that they don't destroy you. They're still sad, still painful, still difficult, but they don't annihilate you the way you thought they would. You're strong enough now to hold them, present enough to be with them, safe enough to let them exist without them consuming you. You remember being small, really small, and feeling something you didn't have words for yet. Loneliness, maybe, or confusion, or the particular kind of fear that children feel when the adults around them are unquite okay and no one's explaining anything. You remember that feeling now, and instead of pushing it away, you let yourself feel it. You let that small version of you be seen, be acknowledged, be held by your current awareness. You can be with that child in a way no one was with them then, and it hurts. It does hurt, but it's not the overwhelming, drowning hurt you were afraid of. It's sad hurt, clean hurt, the kind of hurt that actually needs to be felt instead of avoided. You remember moments when you needed something you didn't get, comfort you didn't receive, understanding that wasn't offered, protection that wasn't there, and you used to tell yourself those moments didn't matter, that you were fine, that you turned out okay, so it must not have been that bad. But now you can acknowledge it was that bad. It did matter. You needed something you didn't get, and that was real. That was true. That shaped you in ways you're still discovering. And acknowledging that doesn't make you weak, doesn't make you broken, doesn't mean you're stuck in the past, or playing victim, or refusing to move forward. It just means you're honest. You're seeing what was true. You're validating your own experience instead of minimizing it. You remember moments when you were hurt and had to pretend you weren't hurt. When you cried and were told to stop crying. When you were scared and were told there was nothing to be scared of. When your reality was denied dismissed, invalidated, and you learned to do that to yourself. Learned to deny your own reality. Learned to dismiss your own feelings. Learned to invalidate your own experience. Learned to say, "I'm fine," when you weren't fine. Learned to pretend nothing hurt. Now you can acknowledge that hurt. That was scary. That was real. My feelings were valid even when they were dismissed. My experience was true even when it was denied. This is not dwelling. This is not being stuck. This is integration. This is bringing the past into conscious awareness so it can finally be processed instead of remaining as unacknowledged pain in your body, in your nervous system, in your patterns. You remember good things too. Things you couldn't let yourself remember because remembering the good made the loss more painful, made the contrast more stark, made the grief more real. You remember moments of joy, of connection, of feeling loved, of feeling safe, brief moments, maybe, fleeting moments, but real moments nonetheless. And now you can hold those too, can let yourself remember the good without it being immediately followed by but. Then, can let good memories be good without immediately protecting yourself from the pain of their loss. You had moments of happiness. You had experiences of love. You had times when you felt safe, seen, understood, and those were real too. Those count too. Those are part of your story alongside the pain. You're learning to hold complexity, to hold the truth that multiple things were true, that you were hurt and you were loved, that you suffered and you experienced joy, that things were hard and you also had moments of goodness, both and not, either or. Both are true. Both can exist. Both can be remembered. Both can be honored. And in this remembering, this honest acknowledging, this willingness to look at what was something is healing, not the past. The past can't be healed. The past already happened. But your relationship with the past is healing. Your ability to hold your own history with compassion is developing. You can look at your younger self with tenderness now, can see that child, that teenager, that young adult with understanding instead of judgment, can recognize that they were doing their best with what they had, can forgive them for not being perfect, can love them despite their imperfections, can love them because of their imperfections, because their imperfections are human, are real, are part of what makes you who you are. The memories are still there. They've always been there. But now you can be with them, can look at them, can touch them without them destroying you, can integrate them into your understanding of yourself, instead of keeping them locked away where they continue to influence you unconsciously. This is courage, real courage, not the courage to forget, not the courage to move on without looking back, but the courage to remember, to see, to feel, to acknowledge what was true, even when it hurts to acknowledge it. You're brave enough now to remember, safe enough to look back, strong enough to hold your own history with honesty and compassion. The memories are there, and you can finally touch them, and you're okay. You're here, you're holding them, and you're okay. You used to be terrified of the future, not excited about it, not curious about it, terrified, because the future was where bad things would happen, where you'd fail, where you'd be exposed, where all your fears would be realized, where everything you were trying to prevent would finally catch up with you. The future was threat, was danger, was the place where your worst predictions would come true. So you tried to control it, tried to prepare for it, tried to plan for every possibility so nothing could surprise you, nothing could hurt you, nothing could go wrong that you hadn't already prepared for. But you couldn't control it, you couldn't prepare for everything, and the trying was exhausting. the constant mental simulation of future disasters, the endless rehearsal of conversations that might never happen, the perpetual anxiety about things that hadn't happened yet and might never happen. You were living in the future, always in the future, never here, never now, always 3 steps ahead, trying to manage things that didn't exist yet. And now something's shifted. Now the future feels different, less threatening, less dangerous, less like a place where everything goes wrong, and more like just the future, just time that hasn't happened yet, just unknown territory that you'll navigate when you get there. You're not afraid of it anymore, not constantly, anyway. Not in that low-level background way that colored everything. Not in that way that made every moment feel temporary, transitional, just a brief stop on the way to the real moment when disaster would finally strike. Now you can be here, now, in this moment, without your mind constantly pulling you into the future, without constantly needing to know what's coming, without needing to prepare for every possibility. You think about the future sometimes. Of course you do. You make plans. You anticipate things. You prepare when preparation is useful. But it's different now. It's not anxious. It's not desperate. It's not the mental spinning of someone trying to control the uncontrollable. It's just thinking about the future. Casually, the way you might think about any topic, with interest but not with dread, with curiosity but not with fear. You don't know what's going to happen, and that's okay. You don't need to know. You don't need to predict it. You don't need to prepare for every possibility. You can just not know, and be okay not knowing. This is new. This is so profoundly different from how you've lived your whole life. You've always needed to know, needed to be prepared, needed to have plans and contingencies and backup plans for the contingencies. But now you can trust. Trust that you'll figure things out when you get there. Trust that you're capable of handling whatever comes. Trust that you don't need to know everything in advance to be okay. Future, you will handle future problems. Present you doesn't need to solve them now. Present you just needs to be here, now, in this moment, which is the only moment that actually exists. The future is just a concept. It's not real. It's not happening. It doesn't exist except as possibility, as potential, as imagination. The only thing that's real is now, this moment, this breath, this experience, and this moment is okay. This moment you can handle. This moment doesn't require you to manage the future. This moment just requires you to be here. And you can do that. You can be here. You can be now. The future will come. It always does. And when it comes, it won't be the future anymore. It will be now. And you'll handle now the way you always handle now, by being present, by responding to what's actually happening, by dealing with reality as it is, rather than as you imagine it might be. You don't need to be afraid of the future. The future isn't where bad things are waiting to happen. The future is just time, just moments that haven't occurred yet, just life continuing to unfold in ways you can't predict and don't need to predict. You're safe not knowing. You're safe being uncertain. You're safe moving forward into unknown territory without a map for every possible turn. Because you're capable, you're resilient. You're someone who's handled difficult things before and survived. You're someone who's adapted to changes you didn't choose. You're someone who's figured things out as they came. And you'll do that again. Whatever the future holds, you'll meet it. You'll respond to it. You'll handle it. Not because you've prepared for every possibility, but because you're a human being, and humans are remarkably good at adapting, responding, figuring things out in the moment. The future doesn't need to be feared. The future is just more life, more moments, more experiences. Some will be hard, some will be good, most will be ordinary. All of them will be handleable in the moment they occur. You don't need to live in the future anymore. You don't need to constantly prepare for disaster. You don't need to rehearse conversations that might never happen or plan for problems that might never arise. You can just be here, now, living this moment, the only moment that exists, the only moment you actually have any control over, the only moment that's real. And this moment is okay. This moment is safe. This moment is exactly what it is, and that's enough. The future will take care of itself, or you'll take care of it when it becomes the present. Either way, you don't need to manage it now. You don't need to be afraid of it now. You don't need to live there now. You can live here, now, present, available, not afraid, not braced for impact, just here, just being, just living this moment instead of trying to prevent future moments. The future you're not afraid of anymore, because the future is just the future, and you're just you, and you'll be okay. You've always been okay. You'll continue to be okay, not because nothing bad will happen, but because you can handle what happens, because you're capable, because you're resilient. The future is not a threat. The future is just time, and time is just life, and life is what you're doing right now. Here, not afraid, not braced, just living, just being, just here, now, always now, only now, and now is okay. Now is safe, now is enough. You've been waiting for something. You don't even know what, just something. Something that would make this moment better, more complete, more worth being in. You've been treating the present moment as temporary, as transitional, as just the space between the past and the future, as something to get through on your way to somewhere else. But now you're discovering, this is it. This is the moment, not the preparation for the moment, not the anticipation of the moment. This, right now, this is the moment you've been waiting for. And it's not special, it's not extraordinary, it's just now, just this. Just you being here, being alive, being aware of being alive. And that's enough. That's actually enough. This ordinary moment, this regular breath, this simple act of being present, it's enough. You don't need more than this. You don't need this moment to be different. You don't need to wait for a better moment. You don't need anything to happen or change or improve for this moment to be worth being in. This moment is worth being in exactly as it is, with all its ordinariness, with all its lack of special features, with all its simple, plain, unremarkable presence. You're here, that's enough. You're breathing, that's enough. You're alive, that's enough. You're aware, that's enough. Enough. This moment is enough. You are enough. The simple fact of being here now, alive, aware, it's enough. You've been searching for more, for better, for different, for the moment when life finally feels like it's supposed to feel. When you finally feel like you're supposed to feel. When everything aligns and makes sense and feels complete. But that moment doesn't exist. That's what you're realizing. There's no moment when everything is perfect. No moment when you've finally arrived. No moment when life is finally what it's supposed to be. There's just this moment, and this moment, and this moment. Each one exactly as it is. Each one complete in itself. Each one enough. This moment doesn't need improving. Doesn't need anything added or subtracted. Doesn't need to be more meaningful or more pleasant or more anything. It just needs to be experienced, witnessed, allowed to be exactly what it is. And what it is simple. It's you being here. It's breath moving in and out. It's awareness, aware of itself. It's life happening, not dramatic life, not special life, just life. Regular, ordinary, simple life. And that's enough. That's always been enough. You just couldn't see it because you were looking for more, looking for better, looking for the moment that would finally be worth being fully present for. But every moment is worth being present for. Not because every moment is pleasant or enjoyable or meaningful, but because every moment is alive. Every moment is real. Every moment is the only moment you actually have. This one, right here, right now. This is the only moment that exists. The past is memory. The future is imagination. This is the only real moment. The only moment you can actually experience. The only moment where life is actually happening. And life is happening right now. Not in some future moment. Not in some better moment. Not when things are different. Now. Life is happening now. And you're here for it. You're present for it. You're experiencing it. This is it. This is life. Not the rehearsal. Not the preparation. Not the waiting room before the real thing starts. This is the real thing. This moment. This breath. This awareness. This being alive. And it's enough. It's not perfect. It's not everything you wanted. It's not how you imagined life would be. But it's real. And it's here. And it's yours. And that makes it enough. You're learning to be here. Really here. Not waiting for the next moment. Not regretting the last moment. Just here. Now. Present. Available. Experiencing what's actually happening instead of what you wish was happening or fear might happen. And what's happening is simple. Breath. Sensation. Awareness. Existence. The basic fundamental experience of being alive. And that's enough. That's everything. That's all there is, really. When you strip away the stories and the judgments and the constant comparison to how things should be. Just this. Just being. Just here. Just now. Just alive. Just aware. Just experiencing this moment exactly as it is. Not needing it to be more. Not wishing it were different. Not waiting for it to transform into something better. Just being with it. Just experiencing it. Just allowing it to be exactly what it is. This moment is enough. You are enough. This simple act of being present is enough. There is nothing more you need to do or be or have or experience for this to be okay. It's already okay. It's always been okay. This moment, exactly as it is perfectly okay. Not perfect, but okay, enough, complete in itself. You're here, you're now, you're alive, you're aware, and that's everything. That's all you need. That's the only thing that's ever been real. This presence, this being here, this aliveness, this enoughness, this is it. This is life. This is what you've been looking for. And it's been here all along, waiting for you. Waiting for you to stop looking elsewhere. Waiting for you to stop waiting for something else. Waiting for you to just be here, now, present, with this moment that's always been enough. You're here now. And here is enough. Now is enough. This is enough. You are enough. Funnily enough. Always enough. Eternally enough. This moment, right here, right now, enough. This moment, you used to fill silence immediately. Silence felt uncomfortable, felt wrong, felt like something needed to be fixed, filled, covered up with sound. So you filled it with music, with podcasts, with television, with scrolling, with anything that would make the silence go away, that would cover the discomfort of nothing happening, no input, just silence, because silence felt like absence, like emptiness, like nothing, and nothing felt threatening somehow, felt like falling into a void, felt like disappearing if there was nothing to hold on to, nothing to fill your awareness, nothing to prove you still existed. But now you're learning. Silence isn't absence. Silence is presence. Silence is full. Silence has its own quality, its own texture, its own particular way of being. And silence speaks, not with words, not with sound, but with something deeper than words or sound. Silence speaks in the language your body understands, your heart understands, your deepest self understands. You sit in silence now, not forcing it, not achieving it, just allowing it, just letting the space between sounds be what it is, instead of immediately filling it. And in that space, you hear things, not external things, internal things, the quiet voice of your own knowing, the gentle whisper of your own wisdom, the subtle guidance of your own intuition that can only be heard when everything else is quiet. Silence speaks in feelings, in sensations, in the subtle shifts of awareness that happen when you're not constantly distracted by input, in the knowing that arises when your mind is quiet enough to notice it. You know things in silence that you can't know in noise. You understand things, you sense things, you receive information that doesn't come through words or thoughts, but through some other channel that only opens in quiet. Silence teaches you about yourself, about what you actually feel when you're not being told what to feel, about what you actually think when you're not being told what to think, about who you actually are when you're not being told who you should be. In silence, there's honesty, because there's no performance, no one to perform for, just you and the quiet and whatever truth emerges when there's no noise to hide it. And sometimes that truth is uncomfortable. Sometimes what arises in silence is difficult. Feelings you've been avoiding, thoughts you've been suppressing, awareness you've been running from. But silence holds all of it. Silence has space for everything, the comfortable and the uncomfortable, the pleasant and the unpleasant, the wanted and the unwanted. All of it can exist in silence without needing to be fixed or changed or made into something else. Silence is acceptance, is allowing, is the space where everything can be exactly what it is, without judgment, without interference, without the constant need to make things different than they are. You're learning to trust silence, to sit with it, to let it be, to stop filling every quiet moment with distraction, to allow the space between sounds to exist without immediately covering it. And in that trusting, in that allowing, you're discovering what silence has always been trying to tell you. You're okay. You exist, you're here, and that's enough. Silence confirms your existence in a way noise never could, because in silence you can feel yourself being, can sense your own presence, can know directly that you exist, you're here, you're alive. Not because you're doing anything, not because you're producing anything, not because you're consuming anything, but just because you are, just because you exist, just because you're here in the silence, being aware of being. Silence is rest for your nervous system, your mind, your whole being. Silence is the space where you can finally stop doing, stop processing, stop managing, just stop, just be, just exist in the quiet. And that quiet is not empty. That quiet is full of presence, full of awareness, full of the subtle aliveness that can only be perceived when everything else is quiet. You're learning the language of silence, the way it speaks without words, the way it communicates through feeling, through sensation, through the direct knowing that bypasses thought and lands somewhere deeper. And what silence tells you is always the same. You're here, you're okay. You're held by something larger than yourself. You're part of something that exists beyond words, beyond thought, beyond anything you can name or grasp or understand. You're part of the silence. You are the silence. When everything else falls away, what remains is this quiet presence, aware emptiness, the silence that's actually full, the absence that's actually everything. Listen to the silence. It's speaking to you. It's always been speaking to you. You just couldn't hear it until you stopped filling it with noise. Listen, be quiet, be still. Let the silence speak. Let it tell you what it knows. Let it remind you of what you've always known, but forgot in all the noise. You're here, you're okay, you're held. You're part of something vast and quiet and eternal. Your silence, aware of itself, presence, recognizing presence, being knowing, being. The silence speaks, and what it says is always true, always loving, always exactly what you need to hear. Listen, the silence is speaking, and it's speaking to you, about you, for you, as you. Listen to the silence. It knows. It's always known. And now, finally, you're quiet enough to hear it. You've been afraid of the dark. Not just physical darkness, but metaphorical darkness. The darkness of not knowing, the darkness of uncertainty, the darkness of the unconscious, the darkness of everything you can't see, can't control, can't understand. Darkness felt threatening, felt like where the monsters live, felt like where you'd get lost, felt like where all the bad things hide, waiting to hurt you if you let your guard down. So you stayed in the light, stayed in the known, stayed in the understood, stayed in the territory you could map and navigate and control. You avoided darkness. You fought against it. You kept it at bay with constant vigilance, constant awareness, constant light. But light is exhausting. Constant illumination is depleting. You can't stay in the light all the time without burning out, without burning up, without losing something essential that can only exist in darkness. And now you're discovering darkness isn't what you thought it was. Darkness isn't threat. Darkness isn't where the monsters are. Darkness is where rest lives, where restoration happens, where things that can't exist in constant light can finally grow. Darkness is gentle. That's what you're learning. Darkness is soft. Darkness is the space where you can finally stop performing, stop being visible, stop being seen. Darkness is where you can just be without being observed, evaluated, judged. In darkness, you're invisible. And invisibility is rest, is freedom, is the relief of not having to maintain an image, present, a face, be anything for anyone. In darkness, you can be formless, undefined, just presence without form. You're learning to rest in darkness, to stop fighting it, to stop filling every dark moment with light, to allow the natural rhythm of light and dark, knowing and not knowing, clarity and mystery. Your body knows this rhythm. Your body rests in darkness, sleeps in darkness, heals in darkness. Your body knows that darkness is necessary, essential, the space where restoration happens. And your psyche is the same. Your psyche needs darkness, needs the unconscious, needs the unknown, needs the mystery where thoughts and feelings and parts of yourself can exist without being examined, analyzed, brought into the light of consciousness. Not everything needs to be conscious. Not everything needs to be known. Not everything needs to be illuminated. Some things need darkness to develop. Some things grow better in the unseen. Some things are destroyed by too much light. You're learning to trust the darkness, to let parts of yourself remain unconscious, to let some things stay unknown, to be okay with mystery, with uncertainty, with the vast territory of yourself that you can't see or map or understand. The darkness holds you. That's what you're discovering. When you stop fighting it, when you stop filling it with light, when you just allow yourself to be in darkness, the darkness holds you gently, softly, like being held in a womb, like being contained in something vast and soft that doesn't require anything from you. Darkness doesn't demand, doesn't require, doesn't expect. Darkness just allows, just receives, just holds whatever's there without judgment, without evaluation, without the constant assessment that happens in light. In darkness, you can be incomplete, can be unfinished, can be unprocessed without having to show your work, can be becoming without having to demonstrate progress, can be exactly where you are without explanation or justification. Darkness is permission. Permission to not know, permission to not be clear, permission to not have it figured out, permission to be in the mystery without needing to solve it. You are resting in darkness now, not sleeping necessarily, but resting, letting yourself be held by the gentle dark, letting yourself be invisible, letting yourself exist without being seen, without being known, without being anything in particular, and it feels good. It feels like relief, like finally being allowed to stop trying, stop performing, stop being anything other than this formless presence in the dark. The darkness is gentle. It's been gentle all along. You just couldn't see it because you were too busy fighting it, running from it, filling it with light to keep the imagined monsters at bay. The darkness is gentle, but there are no monsters. There's just darkness, just the soft, gentle, necessary darkness where rest lives, where mystery lives, where the unknown parts of yourself can exist without needing to be brought into light. Trust the darkness. Rest in it. Let it hold you. Let it be gentle with you. Let yourself be invisible, formless, undefined. Let yourself be exactly what you are in darkness. Presence without form. Awareness without object. Being without needing to be anything in particular. And you're safe here. Safe in the dark. Safe in the unknown. Safe in the mystery. Safe in the vast, soft, gentle darkness that holds you without asking anything in return. Rest here in the dark, in the gentle dark, in the safe dark, in the dark that's been waiting for you to stop fighting it, to stop running from it, to finally trust that it's okay here. It's okay in the dark. You're okay in the dark. The darkness is gentle, and you're held, always held, gently held in the soft, safe darkness. You've been managing your breath for so long, you forgot that breathing happens by itself. You learned breath techniques, learned to breathe deeply, learned to control your breath, to control your anxiety, learned that breath is a tool you can use, should use, must use to regulate yourself. And all of that is true. Breath is connected to your nervous system. Breath can help you calm down. Breath can be used as a tool for regulation. But breath is also just breath. Automatic breath. The breath that happens without you thinking about it, without you controlling it, without you managing it. And there's rest in that, in letting breath be automatic again, in trusting your body to breathe without your conscious direction, in allowing the natural rhythm of breath without interfering with it, You're learning to just let yourself breathe. Not breathe deeply, not breathe consciously, not breathe in any particular pattern or technique. Just breathe. The way you breathe when you're asleep, the way you breathed as a baby, the way your body knows how to breathe without your mind getting involved. And it's strange at first, letting go of control, letting your breath be whatever it is without trying to make it deeper or slower or more regulated, just letting it be. Automatic, natural, uncontrolled. Your breath knows what to do. Your body knows how to breathe. It's been doing it your whole life. It doesn't need your help. It doesn't need your management. It just needs you to stop interfering. And when you stop interfering, when you just let yourself breathe without trying to breathe better, or breathe right, or breathe therapeutically, something softens, something releases, something that's been held tight finally lets go. Your breath finds its own rhythm, not the rhythm you think it should have, but the rhythm it actually wants. The rhythm that's natural for your body in this moment, sometimes shallow, sometimes deep, sometimes fast, sometimes slow, sometimes irregular. Always exactly what it needs to be. And you don't need to fix it, don't need to make it different, don't need to use it as a tool. You can just let it be. Let it breathe you instead of you breathing it. This is rest. This is what it feels like to stop managing something that doesn't need managing. To trust something that's been trustworthy your entire life. To let go of control over something that functions better without control. Your breath is breathing you, has always been breathing you. You've just been trying to help when help wasn't needed. You've been managing when management was interference. You've been controlling when control was exhausting. And now you can stop. You can let your breath be automatic again. Can let your body do what it knows how to do. Can trust the wisdom of your organism to breathe itself without your conscious involvement. This is deep rest, deeper than sleep, deeper than conscious relaxation. This is the rest of letting go of control, of trusting, of allowing something to happen without your management. Your breath doesn't need you to breathe it. Your breath is fine on its own. Your breath knows what it's doing, and you can finally stop trying to help. Just breathe. Let yourself breathe. Let your body breathe. Let the breath be whatever it is, without interference, without management, without control. This is freedom. The freedom of not having to manage every single thing. The freedom of trusting. The freedom of letting go. The freedom of allowing something to be exactly what it is without your involvement. Your breath is fine. You're fine. You can let go now. You can stop controlling. You can just be here, being breathed, trusting that your body knows what it's doing. Breathe. Just breathe. Let yourself breathe. Automatic, natural, uncontrolled, perfect, exactly as it is. Your body has been speaking a language you're only now learning to understand. Not the loud language of pain or illness, not the emergency signals that force you to pay attention, but the subtle language, the quiet knowing, the gentle guidance your body offers when you're present enough to receive it. Your body knows when to move and when to rest, knows what food will nourish and what won't, knows which people feel safe and which don't, knows all of this before your mind can articulate why. You've been overriding this knowing, ignoring it, dismissing it as irrational or inconvenient, trusting your thoughts over your sensations, believing that what you think should be true is more reliable than what your body knows is true. But your body doesn't lie. Your body can't lie. Your body just responds to reality as it actually is, not as you wish it were or think it should be. And now you're learning to listen, to pay attention to the subtle sensations that are actually information, to trust the knowing that arises in your gut, in your chest, in the felt sense of your whole organism responding to life. Your body knows when something's not right before you consciously understand what's wrong. Your stomach tightens, your shoulders rise, your breath becomes shallow. These aren't random physical events. These are your body telling you something. And now you're listening. When your body tenses in someone's presence, you notice. You don't override it with thoughts about how you should feel. You just notice, my body doesn't feel safe here. And you trust that. You honor it. You let your body's wisdom guide you. When your body relaxes, softens, opens, you notice that too. This person feels safe. This place feels good. This choice feels right. Not because you've analyzed it intellectually, but because your body knows. Your body always knows. Your body knows when you need rest before you're consciously tired. It sends subtle signals, a slight heaviness, a gentle pulling toward stillness, a quieting of the impulse to do. And now you're listening to those signals. Now you're resting before exhaustion forces rest. Now you're honoring the knowing before it becomes crisis. Your body knows what it needs to move in certain ways, needs certain foods, needs certain amounts of sleep, needs touch or needs space, needs stimulation or needs quiet. Your body knows all of this. You just haven't been listening. But you're listening now. You relearning to ask your body what it needs instead of telling your body what it should need. You're learning to feel into decisions instead of only thinking through them. You're learning to trust the wisdom that lives in your cells, in your tissues, in the ancient intelligence of your organism. This wisdom is older than thought, older than language, older than consciousness itself. This wisdom kept your ancestors alive. This wisdom developed over millions of years of evolution. This wisdom knows things your conscious mind will never know, and you can access it. You can feel it. You can let it guide you, not by abandoning reason, but by including the body's knowing alongside the mind's thinking. By recognizing that you have multiple sources of intelligence, multiple ways of knowing, and the body's way is often more reliable than the mind's way. Your body knows who's trustworthy before you've consciously assessed their trustworthiness. Your body knows which environment is healthy before you've analyzed why. Your body knows what choice is aligned before you've rationally justified it. This knowing comes as sensation, as feeling, as the subtle shifts in your internal state that you've learned to override, to ignore, to dismiss as irrational. But sensation isn't irrational. Sensation is information. Sensation is your body's way of telling you what it knows, and what it knows is important, often more important than what you think. You're learning to trust this, to honor it, to let your body be a guide instead of just a vehicle. To recognize that you're not a mind operating a body, you're an embodied being, and the body's wisdom is part of your wisdom. When your body says no, you're learning to listen. Even when your mind says you should say yes. Even when saying no is inconvenient. Even when you can't articulate why, your body knows, and that's enough. When your body says yes, when it opens, expands, moves toward something, you're learning to trust that too. To let yourself be drawn by body knowing, by felt sense, by the wisdom that doesn't need words. Your body is wise. Your body has always been wise. Your body is a more reliable guide than you've given it credit for. And now you're learning to let it guide you, to listen to its language, to trust its knowing. This is coming home to your body, not controlling your body, not managing your body, not forcing your body to comply with what your mind thinks should be, but actually listening, actually trusting, actually letting your body's wisdom inform your choices, guide your life, keep you safe. Your body knows, it's always known. And now, finally, you're wise enough to listen. You've equated thinking with existing. If your mind isn't busy, you're not sure you're really there. You're not sure you're really doing anything. You're not sure you have value. So you've kept your mind busy, constantly, endlessly, always thinking, always processing, always analyzing, always planning, always doing the mental work that proves you're productive, valuable, here. But your mind is exhausted. Your mind has been running non-stop for so long, it's forgotten what it feels like to just not think, not work, not be busy with the constant production of thoughts. And now you're learning. Your mind doesn't need to be busy. Your mind is allowed to be quiet. Your mind is allowed to rest. Your mind is allowed to just be without constantly producing, processing, working. You exist whether your mind is busy or not. Your value doesn't depend on constant mental productivity. You're here, you're real, you matter, even when your mind is quiet, even when you're not thinking, even when nothing much is happening in your consciousness. This is revolutionary. This challenges everything you've believed about thinking, about consciousness, about what makes you you. But it's true. You exist in the space between thoughts. You exist when your mind is quiet. You exist when there's nothing happening mentally. You're not your thoughts. You're the awareness in which thoughts occur. And awareness doesn't need thoughts to exist. You can just be. Mind quiet. Consciousness present but not busy. Awareness aware but not working. Just being here. Just existing. Just present without the constant mental activity. And it feels strange at first. Like something's wrong. Like you're not really here if your mind isn't busy. Like you're wasting time, being lazy, not being productive enough. But you're not wasting anything. You're resting. You're giving your mind the space it needs to actually restore instead of just running on fumes. You're allowing consciousness to just be conscious without needing to constantly do consciousness. Your mind is quieter now, not empty, not absent, but quieter, less crowded, less busy with the constant production of thoughts that don't really need to be thought. And in that quiet, something emerges. Something that couldn't emerge when your mind was too busy. Creativity, insight, intuition, the subtle knowings that can only arise in spaciousness, in quiet, in the gaps between busy mind. Your best ideas don't come from busy mind. They come from quiet mind, from the space where you're not trying to think, not trying to figure something out, not trying to solve anything. They come from rest, from the mind that's allowed to not be busy. You're learning to let your mind rest, to stop filling every moment with mental activity, to allow space, to allow quiet, to allow your mind to just be without constantly doing. And your mind is grateful. Your mind has been waiting for this, waiting for permission to stop. Waiting for the recognition that it doesn't need to be constantly busy to justify its existence. You exist. Your mind exists. Whether it's busy or quiet, whether it's producing or resting, whether it's working or just being. And being is enough. Being is everything. Being is what makes everything else possible. You can't have creativity without being. You can't have insight without being. You can't have wisdom without being. And being requires space, requires quiet, requires the mind that's not busy, requires consciousness that's allowed to just exist without constantly producing. Your mind is resting now, and in that rest you're discovering who you are beyond the busy mind, beyond the constant thinking, beyond the endless mental productivity. You're discovering the spacious awareness that holds everything, the quiet consciousness that witnesses everything, the still presence that exists whether your mind is busy or not. That's who you are, not the busy thoughts, not the constant mental activity, but the awareness, the presence, the being that exists before thought, beyond thought, underneath thought. And that being doesn't need to be busy. That being is enough, just being, just here, just aware, just present, just existing without needing to prove its existence through constant mental work. Your mind is quiet now, and you're okay. You're here, you exist, you're real, even with a quiet mind, even without the constant busyness. This is rest, real rest. The rest of a mind that's finally allowed to not be busy. The rest of consciousness that's allowed to just be conscious without constantly working. Your mind is resting, and you're still here, still you, still valuable, still real, just quieter, just more spacious, just more at rest. Let your mind rest. It's okay. You're okay. You exist whether your mind is busy or not, and existing is enough, being is enough, you are enough. Quiet mind, resting mind, spacious mind, peaceful mind, enough. You closed your heart a long time ago. You don't remember exactly when. You don't remember the specific moment when you decided that openness was too dangerous, that vulnerability was too costly, that keeping your heart soft was something you couldn't afford. But you closed it. You built walls. You developed armor. You learned to protect your heart by making it hard, by making it unavailable, by making it something that couldn't be reached or hurt or broken again. And it worked, sort of. Your heart didn't get broken in the same way again, because it couldn't be reached, because you kept everyone at a distance, because you never let anyone get close enough to hurt you. But you also kept everyone at a distance from the good things, from love, from connection, from intimacy, from all the tender, beautiful experiences that require an open heart to receive. You've been living with a closed heart, and closed hearts can't receive, can't really love, can't really connect, can't experience the depth of feeling that makes life feel rich instead of just survivable. And now something's changing. Now you're discovering that maybe, just maybe, it's safe to open your heart again, to soften the walls, to let the armor drop, to risk being vulnerable, being seen, being potentially hurt, because the closed heart wasn't protecting you from pain. It was protecting you from life, from the full experience of being alive, from the joy and the sorrow and the love and the loss and everything that requires an open heart to feel. And you want to feel again. You want to love again. You want to connect again. Even if the full experience includes pain, includes risk, includes the possibility of being hurt. Because being hurt is part of being alive. Being vulnerable is part of being human. Having an open heart means you can be touched by beauty, by love, by life itself. And being touched means sometimes being hurt. But it also means being moved, being changed, being actually alive instead of just protected. So you're opening, slowly, carefully, testing whether it's actually safe, letting the walls crack, letting people in a little bit, letting yourself feel a little bit more than you've been allowing yourself to feel. And it's terrifying. It feels like removing protection in a dangerous world. It feels like making yourself vulnerable to all the things you've been protecting yourself from. It feels like risking everything, but it also feels like coming alive, like finally being able to breathe fully, like emerging from a small, protected space into a vast, open world, like being here, really here, fully here, with your heart available to be touched by life. Your heart is opening. You can feel it, not dramatically, not all at once, but gradually, consistently. The walls are softening. The armor is melting. The protective hardness is dissolving into something softer, more available, more open, and people can feel the difference. People can sense that you're more available now, more present, more actually here, more capable of connection, of intimacy, of the kind of relationship that requires both people to be vulnerable. You're letting people in, actually in, past the walls, into the tender places, into the parts of yourself that can be hurt. And some people are gentle with that access. Some people honor your vulnerability. Some people meet your openness with their own openness. And that's everything. That's what connection actually is. Not two protected people interacting from behind their walls, but two open hearts meeting. Two vulnerable people risking hurt for the possibility of love. Two humans being actually present with each other instead of just performing presence. Your heart is safe being open. That's what you're discovering. Not safe in the sense that it can't be hurt, but safe in the sense that you can survive being hurt. Safe in the sense that being open is worth the risk. Safe in the sense that you're strong enough to be vulnerable. Open heart doesn't mean fragile heart. Open heart doesn't mean unprotected heart. Open heart means available heart. Available to feel. Available to love. Available to be touched by life in all its beauty and pain and complexity. You're keeping your heart open now. Not perfectly. Not without fear. Not without moments when you want to close it again, protect it again, go back to the safety of walls and armor. But you're choosing openness. You're choosing vulnerability. You're choosing to let your heart be available, even though available means hurtable, even though open means potentially painful, even though soft means sometimes being wounded. Because the alternative, the closed heart, the protected heart, the heart that can't be hurt, because it can't be reached, that not really living, that's just surviving, that's existing behind walls instead of actually being here, actually feeling, actually loving. Your heart is open, your heart is soft, your heart is available, and that's brave. That's the bravest thing you can be, not protected, not defended, but open, vulnerable, available to be touched by life. Your heart is safe being open, not because nothing will hurt it, but because you can handle being hurt, because you're strong enough to be soft, because you're capable enough to be vulnerable. Your heart is open, and it's safe, and it's beautiful, and it's exactly how hearts are meant to be. Open, available, soft, vulnerable, alive. Keep it open, keep it soft, keep it available. Your open heart is your gift to the world. Your open heart is your gift to yourself. Your open heart is what makes you fully human, fully alive, fully here. Open heart, safe heart, brave heart, beautiful heart, yours. You've been carrying questions for so long. Questions about yourself, questions about your life, questions about meaning and purpose and whether you're doing it right. Why am I like this? What am I supposed to do with my life? What's my purpose? Am I good enough? Am I on the right path? Am I wasting my life? Am I making the right choices? These questions have been with you for years, decades, maybe. You've turned them over and over in your mind. You've sought answers from books, from teachers, from therapists, from anyone who might be able to tell you what you couldn't seem to figure out for yourself. And sometimes you've found answers, temporary answers, answers that felt true for a while and then stopped feeling true, answers that satisfied for a moment and then dissolved back into questions. Because these aren't the kind of questions that have answers, not permanent answers, not final answers, not answers that resolve the question once and for all. These are living questions, questions that evolve as you evolve, questions that change as you change, questions that are meant to be lived with, not solved. And now you're learning something. You don't need answers to these questions. You don't need to figure out your purpose. You don't need to know if you're on the right path. You don't need to resolve whether you re good enough or doing it right or making the right choices. You can just live with the questions. You can carry them without needing to answer them. You can let them be part of your experience without needing to resolve them. The questions aren't problems. The questions are part of being alive, part of being conscious, part of being a human who can reflect on their own existence and wonder about it. And wondering is enough. Questioning is enough. Not knowing is enough. You don't need answers. You just need to be willing to live in the question, to be present with the uncertainty, to be okay not knowing, because the truth is, you can't know. You can't know your purpose in any final way. You can't know if you're on the right path because there is no single right path. You couldn't know if you re good enough because good enough is a moving target that changes depending on who's measuring and what they re-measuring against. These questions don't have answers because they're asking about things that are fundamentally unknowable, fundamentally ambiguous, fundamentally dependent on context and perspective, and 1,000 variables you can't control. So you can stop trying to answer them. You can stop seeking. You can stop looking for the final word, the ultimate truth, the definitive answer that will finally let you relax. You can just be with the questions. Let them exist. Let them move and change and evolve as you move and change and evolve. Let them be companions on your journey rather than obstacles to overcome. Who am I? You're this, right now, this person, in this moment, having this experience. And that's all you need to know. That's all you can know. Tomorrow you might be slightly different, and that will be who you are tomorrow. What's my purpose? Your purpose is this. Whatever you're doing right now, whatever you're experiencing, whatever you're learning, whatever you're being, that's your purpose. It doesn't need to be grand or meaningful or significant. It just needs to be this. Am I doing it right? You're doing it, that's all. You're living, you're here, you're trying, you're being human in all the messy, complicated, imperfect ways that humans are. And that's not wrong. It's just human. The questions are okay. The questions are part of the journey. The questions are what keep you curious, keep you growing, keep you engaged with your own experience instead of just moving through it automatically. But the questions don't need answers. The questions just need to be held, to be acknowledged, to be given space to exist without pressure to resolve them. You can live with questions. You can be okay not knowing. You can move forward without certainty. You can make choices without being sure they're right. You can exist without having it all figured out, because no one has it all figured out. Everyone is living with questions. Everyone is uncertain. Everyone is making it up as they go along. Some people just pretend they have answers. Some people just hide their uncertainty better. But you don't need to pretend. You don't need to hide. You can be honest about not knowing. You can be okay with questions that don't have answers. You can live in the uncertainty without needing to make it certain. The questions are part of you. The not knowing is part of you. The uncertainty is part of you. And all of that is okay. All of that is human. All of that is exactly what it means to be alive and conscious and paying attention to your own existence. Live with the questions. Don't try to answer them. Don't try to resolve them. Just carry them. Let them be with you. Let them evolve as you evolve. Let them be part of your journey without needing to be solved. The questions don't need answers. The questions just need to be lived. And you're living them. You're doing it. You're here in the question, being uncertain, being okay not knowing. And that's enough. The questions are enough. The not knowing is enough. You are enough, exactly as you are, with all your questions and all your uncertainty. Live the questions. That's all. That's everything. That's the only answer you need. You've been living in the past. Not literally, not consciously, but mentally, emotionally. Part of you has been stuck back there, reliving it, regretting it, trying to change it even though it's unchangeable. The past has been more present than the present, more real than now, more alive in your mind than the actual moment you're living. You've been carrying it, all of it. Every moment you wish you could redo, every choice you wish you'd made differently, every word you wish you'd said or hadn't said, every version of yourself you wish you'd been instead of who you were. And the weight of it has been crushing. The weight of all that unchangeable past, the weight of all that regret, the weight of trying to live now while constantly looking backward. But something's shifting, something's releasing. The past is becoming past, not erased, not forgotten, not pretended away, but actually past. Something that happened, something that's over, something that belongs to then, not to now. You're letting it be past. You're letting it go, not the memories, not the lessons, not the experiences that shaped you, but the emotional charge, the constant reliving, the perpetual wishing it had been different. It was what it was. That's what you're accepting. It happened the way it happened. You were who you were. You did what you did. And all of that is over now. All of that is past. And past doesn't need to be carried into present. Past can just be past. Something that happened. Something that's done. Something that no longer has power over this moment unless you give it power. You're withdrawing that power. You're taking back the attention you've been giving to what's already over. You're reclaiming the energy you've been spending on trying to change what's unchangeable. The past happened, and now it's over, and you're here now. In this moment, the only moment that's actually real. The only moment where you actually exist. The only moment where life is actually happening. You can't change the past. You've always known that intellectually, but now you're knowing it in a deeper way. In a way that lets you actually stop trying. Stop mentally rehearsing different outcomes. Stop replaying the same scenes, hoping for different endings. The past is closed. The story is written. The events are fixed. And all your mental energy directed at them changes nothing. Absolutely nothing. Except it keeps you from being here. From being now. From being available to the life that's actually happening.
So you're letting go. You're releasing your grip on what's already gone. You're allowing the past, to be finished, to be something you can remember without being controlled by, something you can acknowledge without being defined by. You're not that person anymore. That's another thing you're realizing. The person who did those things, who made those choices, who lived that life, that person doesn't exist anymore. That person is also past. You're this person, now person, present person, the person who's here, who's learned, who's different because of the past but not limited by it. Not tried in it, not trying to undo it. The past shaped you, of course it did, but it doesn't own you. It doesn't define you. It doesn't determine who you are now or who you'll be tomorrow. It's just information, just history, just something that happened on the way to here. And here is where you are. Here is where life is. Here is where everything that matters is actually happening. Not back there, not in the unchangeable past, but here, now. This moment, you're present now, more present than you've been in years, more available to this moment, more actually here instead of mentally somewhere else. The past is quiet now, not erased, not forgotten, but quiet, resting in its proper place behind you, completed, no longer demanding your constant attention. And in that quiet, you can hear this moment, can feel this moment, can be in this moment, can actually live now instead of constantly reliving then. The past is past, finally, actually, truly past, and you're here now, present, available, free from the constant pull backward, free to be here, free to be now. This is freedom, not the freedom from having a past, but the freedom from being controlled by it. The freedom to let it be what it was without letting it determine what is. You have a past. Everyone has a past. But the past is just past. It's not present. It's not now. It's not here. It's there. Back there. Done. Over. Finished. And you're here now, present, living this moment. The only moment that's real. The only moment that matters. The only moment where you can actually do anything, be anything, experience anything. The past is past, and you're here. Finally here, finally present, finally free from the weight of what's already over. Here now. This all that's real, all that matters, all that's actually happening here. Always here, only here. Now, you've been trying to earn love your entire life, trying to be good enough, impressive enough, valuable enough, useful enough to deserve it. You've believed that love is conditional, that it's something you have to work for, that it's something you get if you're successful enough, if you're kind enough, if you're attractive enough, if you're enough of whatever the person loving you needs you to be. So you've performed, you've achieved, you've made yourself useful, you've shaped yourself into versions you thought would be lovable. You've worked so hard to earn the love you believed you had to earn, and sometimes it worked. Sometimes your performance was good enough. Sometimes you earned the conditional love that was available. Sometimes you got the affection, the approval, the sense of being valued that you were working so hard for. But it was exhausting, and it was never secure. Because conditional love can always be withdrawn. Because if you have to earn it, you can also lose it. Because if you're only loved for what you do, then you're only loved as long as you keep doing it. And now you're discovering something. Love doesn't have to be earned. Real love, actual love. The kind of love that's worth having. That kind of love isn't conditional on your performance. That kind of love just is. It exists. It's given freely. It doesn't require you to be anything other than what you are. It doesn't require you to achieve or perform or prove or earn. It's just there for you because you exist, because you're you, not because you've done enough or been enough or earned enough, just because you are. This is hard to believe. This contradicts everything you've learned, everything you've experienced, everything you've built your life around. But it's true. There is love that doesn't require earning. There is love that's given without conditions. There is love that exists simply because you exist. And that love might not come from where you expected it, might not come from the people you've been trying so hard to earn it from, might not look the way you thought it would look, but it's there, in unexpected places. In quiet moments, in the eyes of people who see you as you are and love you anyway, in the recognition that you're worthy of love, not because of what you do, but because of what you are human, alive, here, and the most important love that doesn't require earning, your own. Your own love for yourself, your own acceptance of yourself, your own recognition that you're worthy of love just by virtue of existing. You don't have to earn your own love. You don't have to be perfect to be worthy of your own compassion. You don't have to achieve enough to deserve your own kindness. You can just love yourself. As you are, imperfect, struggling, still learning, still growing, still figuring it out. All of it, all of you, worthy of love, not earned love, just love, free love, unconditional love. This is revolutionary. This changes everything. Because if you can love yourself without earning it, if you can extend to yourself the compassion and acceptance you've been trying so hard to earn from others, then you free from the constant performance, free from the exhausting work of trying to be good enough, free from the fear that you'll stop being loved if you stop being perfect. You're loved just for being, just for existing, just for being you, not the performed you, not the achieved you, not the impressive you, just you, regular you, ordinary you, human you. And that's enough. That's always been enough. You've just been told it wasn't. You've been told you had to earn it. You've been told love was conditional on your performance, but that wasn't love. That was transaction. That was exchange. That was contract. Love doesn't work like that. Real love doesn't require earning. Real love is just given, just there, just existing because existence is enough. You're worthy of love. You've always been worthy. You didn't need to earn it. You don't need to maintain it through constant effort. You just need to receive it, to let it in, to believe that it's real and it's for you, and you don't have to do anything to deserve it. Love that doesn't require earning, love that's just given, love that exists because you exist. That's the love you deserve. That's the love that's available. The love you can have if you stop trying to earn it and just let yourself receive it. You're loved, not for what you do, but for what you are, human. Alive, here imperfect, beautiful in your imperfection, worthy in your simple existence. You're loved, just because, just for being, just for existing. And that's enough. That's everything. That's all you ever needed. Love that doesn't require earning. Love that's just given. Love that's just here. For you, always for you, because you exist, because you're you, because that's enough. You're loved. Finally, freely, without condition, without requirement, without needing to earn it, just loved, just held, just seen, just valued, just you, just loved. You've been searching for peace, looking for it everywhere, in achievement, in relationships, in substances, in experiences, in anything that might finally give you the sense of peace you've been craving. But peace isn't something you find. Peace isn't somewhere else. Peace isn't in the future when things are different or in the past when things were better. Peace isn't conditional on circumstances being right. Peace is here, right now, in this moment. It's always been here. You just couldn't see it because you were looking past it, looking for something more, looking for peace to look different than it looks. Peace is quiet. So quiet you missed it. Peace is simple. So simple you dismissed it. Peace is ordinary. So ordinary you didn't recognize it as what you were looking for. You thought peace would be dramatic, would feel like arriving somewhere, would be obvious, unmistakable, a clear shift from not peace to peace. But peace is subtle. Peace is the absence of struggle, the absence of resistance, the absence of constantly trying to make this moment different than it is. Peace is just being here, just accepting what is. Just letting this moment be exactly what it is, without needing it to be more or different or better. And this moment is peaceful. This moment is always peaceful when you stop struggling with it, when you stop resisting what is, when you stop trying to make it into something else. The struggle was never in the moment. The struggle was in your resistance to the moment, in your belief that this moment shouldn't be what it is, in your constant effort to make things different. And when you stop that struggle, when you just let this moment be what it is, there's peace, simple peace, quiet peace, the peace that's always been here underneath the struggle. You can feel it now, underneath everything. Underneath the thoughts and the feelings and the constant mental activity. There's peace. There's always been peace. You just couldn't access it because you were too busy struggling. But you're not struggling as much now. You're allowing more. You're accepting more. You're letting things be what they are more. And in that allowing, in that accepting, in that letting be, there's peace. Peace isn't something you achieve. Peace is something you notice, something you rest into, something that's revealed when you stop covering it with struggle. This moment is peaceful, even if it contains difficulty, even if it contains pain, even if it contains things you wish were different. This moment, exactly as it is, has peace in it. Because peace isn't the absence of difficulty. Peace is the presence of acceptance. You're at peace with difficulty, with pain, with things being hard, with things being exactly what they are instead of what you wish they were. And in that acceptance, there's peace. Not the peace of everything being perfect, but the peace of being okay with things being imperfect. The peace of not struggling with reality. The peace of just being here in this moment with what is, and what is always okay. Not always pleasant, not always easy, but always okay, always acceptable, always something you can be with instead of something you need to fix or change or make different. Peace is being with what is. That's all. That's everything. Just being here. Just accepting. Just allowing. Just not struggling. Just letting this moment be exactly what it is. And this moment is enough. This moment is okay. This moment is peaceful when you stop struggling with it, when you stop resisting it, when you just let it be. The peace is here. It's always been here. You just couldn't see it because you were looking for something else, something bigger, something more obvious. Something that felt more like the peace you imagined peace would feel like. But this is peace, this quiet, this acceptance, this letting be, this simple presence with what is. This is the peace you've been searching for, and it's been here all along, right here, in this moment. The moment you kept looking past in search of a better moment. This moment is the moment. This peace is the peace. This is it. This is what you've been looking for. And it's been here all along, waiting for you to stop searching, waiting for you to stop struggling. Waiting for you to just be here and notice that peace is what's left when you stop struggling with what is. You're at peace now. You might not feel dramatically peaceful. You might not feel like something huge has shifted, but you're at peace. You're not struggling. You're not resisting. You're just here, and here is peaceful. Here has always been peaceful.
Peace is here. Peace is now. Peace is this. Always here, always now. Always available when you stop struggling and just let yourself be here with what is. You're at peace, finally, not because everything is perfect, but because you've stopped struggling with imperfection. You've stopped resisting what is. You've stopped trying to make this moment into something else. You're just here, and here is peaceful. And you're at peace, finally, always here. You've been looking for something extraordinary, something special, something that would make your life feel meaningful, significant, worth living. You've been treating ordinary as not enough, as settling, as less than, as what you get when you fail to achieve extraordinary. But you're discovering something. Ordinary is sacred. Ordinary is where life actually happens. Ordinary is where the real, true, honest experience of being alive exists. Extraordinary is performance. Extraordinary is rare. Extraordinary is unsustainable. You can't live in extraordinary. You can only visit it briefly and then return to ordinary. And ordinary is where you actually live. Ordinary is where most of your moments happen. Ordinary is where you wake up and eat breakfast and go through your day and interact with people and exist as a human being doing human things. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing insufficient about ordinary. Ordinary is not a failure to be extraordinary. Ordinary is just life, real life, actual life. The life that's actually happening instead of the life you imagine should be happening. You're learning to find the sacred in the ordinary, to see the miracle in the mundane, to recognize that everything, every ordinary moment, every regular experience, every normal day is actually extraordinary if you're present enough to see it. The ordinary act of breathing, the ordinary act of eating, the ordinary act of walking, the ordinary act of being alive. All of it is miraculous when you actually pay attention, when you're actually present for it, when you stop treating it as just ordinary and start experiencing it as the extraordinary miracle it actually is. You exist. That's extraordinary. You're conscious. That's miraculous. You're alive in a universe that's mostly talive. You're aware in a cosmos that's mostly not aware. You're here, experiencing this moment, this existence, this particular configuration of matter that somehow became conscious of itself. That's not ordinary. That's impossible. That's so statistically unlikely that it's essentially a miracle. And yet you've been treating it as ordinary, as nothing special, as not enough, but it's everything. Your existence is everything. Your consciousness is everything. Your simple, ordinary, regular human life is everything, because it's the only life you get. Because it's happening right now. Because it's real in a way that extraordinary achievements and special experiences never quite are. Ordinary is real. Ordinary is where you live. Ordinary is where love happens, where connection happens, where joy happens, where sadness happens, where all the actually important things happen. Extraordinary is exciting. Extraordinary is impressive. But extraordinary is not where you live. Extraordinary is not where life happens. Extraordinary is brief, temporary, special because it's rare. But ordinary is constant. Ordinary is where you spend most of your time. Ordinary is where you actually exist, and ordinary is enough. Ordinary is more than enough. Ordinary is everything. The ordinary conversation, the ordinary meal, the ordinary walk, the ordinary moment of sitting and doing nothing. All of it is sacred. All of it is valuable. All of it is worth being present for. You don't need extraordinary experiences to have a meaningful life. You don't need special achievements to justify your existence. You don't need impressive accomplishments to be valuable. You just need to be here. Ordinary here. Regular here. Normal here. Being alive in the ordinary way that humans are alive. Doing ordinary things. Having ordinary experiences. Living an ordinary life. And that's sacred. That's enough. That's everything. Because ordinary is where life is. Ordinary is where you are. Ordinary is what's real. And real is more valuable than impressive. Real is more meaningful than extraordinary. Real is more sacred than special. You're living an ordinary life, and your ordinary life is sacred. Your ordinary moments are miracles. Your ordinary existence is extraordinary when you actually pay attention to it. You're here, ordinary you, regular you, normal you, and you're alive. And alive is extraordinary. Alive is miraculous. Alive is sacred, even when it's ordinary. Especially when it's ordinary. This ordinary moment, this regular breath, this simple act of existing, this is sacred. this is enough. This is everything. This ordinary, regular, normal, simple existence. This is the miracle. This is the meaning. This is the point. You don't need more than this. You don't need different than this. You don't need extraordinary. You just need to recognize the extraordinary nature of ordinary, the sacred nature of normal, the miraculous nature of regular existence. You're here, ordinary here, and that's sacred. That's enough. That's everything. Ordinary existence, sacred existence, your existence, here, now, ordinary, sacred, enough. You've been making life complicated, making it into something it doesn't need to be, adding layers of meaning and purpose and significance that obscure the simple fact underneath everything. You re-alive. That's it. That's the thing. You're alive. You exist. You're here. And that's not complicated. That's the simplest thing in the world, the most basic fact of your experience. But you've treated it as insufficient, as not enough, as something that needs to be enhanced, improved, made into something more significant. You've treated simple aliveness as the starting point for something else instead of recognizing it as the thing itself. Being alive doesn't need to mean something, doesn't need to accomplish something, doesn't need to contribute something. Being alive is enough. Just being here, just existing, just breathing and experiencing and being conscious. You're alive right now, and that's profound. Not complicated, not layered with meaning, just profound in its simplicity. You exist. You're aware of existing. You're experiencing this moment of being alive. And this moment doesn't need anything added to it, doesn't need interpretation or analysis or enhancement. This moment is complete exactly as it is, simple, direct, just existence happening, just awareness being aware, just life living itself through you. You breathe. That's simple. Air goes in, air goes out. Your body does it automatically. You don't need to make it meaningful. You do need to turn it into a practice or a meditation or anything more than what it is. It's just breathing, simple breathing. Life sustaining itself through the simple act of breath. You feel. That's simple too. Sensations arise. Emotions move through. You experience what you experience. And none of it needs to be complicated. None of it needs to be analyzed or understood or made into something. It's just feeling, simple feeling. Life experiencing itself through sensation. You exist. The simplest fact, the most obvious fact, and the most easily overlooked fact. Because you've been so busy trying to make existence meaningful that you've missed the simple profundity of just existing. Existence doesn't need meaning. Existence is meaning. Just being here, just being alive, just experiencing this moment. That's the meaning. That's the point. That's the thing itself. You're learning to rest in this simplicity, to stop complicating, to stop adding layers, to stop making life into something more than the simple fact of being alive. And in that simplicity, there's peace, there's ease. There's the relief of not having to make everything meaningful, not having to turn every experience into something significant, not having to justify your existence through accomplishment or understanding or contribution. You can just be alive. Simple aliveness, uncomplicated existence, the straightforward experience of being here, being conscious, being aware. A bird doesn't complicate its existence. A tree doesn't question its meaning. A wave doesn't wonder if it's living correctly. They just exist. They just are. They just do what they do without layering interpretation on top of simple being. And you can be like that too. You can exist without complicating it. You can be alive without making it into something more than simple aliveness. You can experience your moments without turning them into narratives or meanings or lessons. You can just be here. Simple, here, breathing, feeling, experiencing, existing. That's all. That's everything. That's the profound simplicity of being alive. You don't need to understand it. You don't need to figure it out. You don't need to make it make sense. You just need to be it, to live it, to experience it directly without all the complicated layers you've been adding. Simple, so simple. Being alive, being here, being aware. That's it. That's the thing. That's all there is, really, when you strip away the complications, and it's enough. It's always been enough. This simple fact of existence, this straightforward experience of being alive, this uncomplicated reality of being here, now, breathing, feeling, existing. You're alive, simply alive, and that's profound. Not because of what you do with it, not because of what it means, but because it is, because you are, because existence is happening and you're aware of it happening. Simple, profound, enough. This aliveness, this being, this here-ness, simple, always simple, profoundly simple. Your life, your existence, your being here, simple, enough. Everything. You've been searching for home, looking for the place where you belong, where you fit, where you can finally relax and be yourself and stop performing. You've looked for it in places, in relationships, in achievements, in anything that might finally give you the sense of home you've been craving, the sense of belonging, the sense of being exactly where you're supposed to be. But home isn't a place. Home isn't a person. Home isn't an achievement or a circumstance or a condition that needs to be met. Home is something you carry inside you, something you've always carried, something you've been looking past while searching for it somewhere else. Home is the feeling of being okay with yourself, the feeling of accepting yourself exactly as you are, the feeling of belonging to yourself instead of constantly trying to belong somewhere else, to someone else, to some version of yourself you're not. And you've had this all along, this capacity to be home, this capacity to belong to yourself, this capacity to rest in your own being instead of constantly seeking rest somewhere outside yourself. You're learning to come home to yourself, not to go somewhere, not to become someone, but to return to yourself, to rest in yourself, to recognize that you're the home you've been looking for. When you're with yourself, really with yourself, accepting yourself, not judging yourself, not trying to change yourself, you're home. When you're present in your own body, in your own experience, in your own existence, you're home. Home isn't perfect. Home isn't always comfortable. Home has difficult moments. Home has pain and struggle and challenges. But home is where you can be real, where you can be honest, where you can be exactly who you are without performing, without hiding, without pretending. And you can have that with yourself. You can be that for yourself. You can be the home you've been looking for by simply being present with yourself, accepting yourself, allowing yourself to be exactly what you are in each moment. This is coming home, not going somewhere, but arriving here in yourself, in your own experience, in your own being, coming home to the body you live in, coming home to the mind you think with, coming home to the heart you feel with, coming home to yourself. You carry home with you, always, everywhere. Home is wherever you are when you're actually present with yourself, when you're actually here, when you're actually accepting of your own experience instead of wishing it were different. Home is this body, these thoughts, these feelings, this existence, not some idealized version, not some future version, not some version you're trying to become, but this version right now, exactly as you are. And this version is home. This moment is home. This experience is home. Because home is wherever you are when you're actually present, when you're actually here, when you're actually okay with being exactly what you are. You've been homeless while carrying home inside you. You've been searching while the thing you were searching for was with you the whole time. You've been longing for belonging while belonging to yourself was always available. And now you're discovering it. Now you're recognizing it. Now you're coming home to yourself. Not because you've changed, not because you've become someone else, but because you've stopped leaving. You've stopped abandoning yourself in search of home somewhere else. You're here now with yourself, present, accepting, home, finally home. Not because you've found the right place or the right person or the right circumstances, but because you've found yourself, because you've come back to yourself, because you've recognized that you are home. Home is not somewhere you go. Home is something you are. Home is being present with yourself. Home is accepting yourself. Home is belonging to yourself instead of constantly seeking belonging elsewhere. And you're home now, right here, right now, in this moment, in this body, in this life, in this experience. Home, finally, actually, truly home. Not because everything is perfect, not because you've figured everything out, not because you've become who you thought you needed to become, but because you're here, because you're present, because you're with yourself, because you're home. You carry home with you. You are home. You've always been home. You just didn't know it. You just kept looking elsewhere. You just kept thinking home was somewhere else, something else, someone else. But it's here. It's you. It's this. This being present with yourself. This accepting yourself. This belonging to yourself. This is home. This has always been home. This will always be home. You're home, finally, not by arriving somewhere, but by recognizing that you've always been here, that you've always been home. That home is not a place you reach, but a presence you inhabit. You're home, here, now, in yourself, with yourself, as yourself. Home, always home, forever home. You. All this time, you've been searching for the quiet place. The place your mind can go to feel safe. The place where peace lives. The place where you can finally rest. And you've been looking for it, as if it's somewhere else, somewhere outside yourself, somewhere you need to reach or achieve or find. But you are the quiet place. You've always been the quiet place. The quiet place isn't somewhere your mind goes. The quiet place is what you are underneath your mind. The quiet place is your fundamental nature, before thought, before story, before all the noise you've added to simple being. You are awareness, pure awareness, consciousness itself. And consciousness is quiet. Consciousness is spacious. Consciousness is the vast, open, peaceful presence in which everything else appears, thoughts, feelings, sensations, experiences, but which itself remains untouched, unchanged, always quiet, always spacious, always at peace. You've been identifying with the contents of consciousness, with the thoughts, with the feelings, with the constant mental activity, when you've been trying to find peace by managing those contents, by making them quieter, by creating the right conditions. But you're not the contents. You're the space in which contents appear. You're not the thoughts. You're the awareness that notices thoughts. You're not the feelings. You're the presence that experiences feelings. You're not the noise. You're the quiet in which noise appears. And that quiet, that spacious awareness, that fundamental consciousness is always here. Always accessible. Always peaceful. Not because it's achieved peace, but because it is peace. It is the quiet place. It's what you are at your most fundamental level. You can't go to the quiet place because you are the quiet place. You can't reach it because you've never left it. You can't find it because you've always been it. You just have unrecognized it because you've been so identified with the noise that you forgot about the quiet underneath. But the quiet is always here. Always present, always available, not somewhere else, not in the future, not conditional on circumstances, but here, now, what you are, what you've always been, the quiet awareness in which everything appears. When your mind is noisy, the quiet is still here. The noise appears in the quiet. The quiet holds the noise. The quiet is not disturbed by the noise, because the quiet is not the noise. The quiet is what witnesses the noise, what contains the noise, what remains when the noise subsides. You are that quiet, that witnessing presence, that aware space, that consciousness that notices everything, but is itself not a thing to be noticed. You are the quiet place your mind has been trying to find, and recognizing this changes everything. Because if you are the quiet place, then you don't need to search for it. You don't need to achieve it. You don't need to create the right conditions for it. You just need to recognize it. You just need to notice what you already are. You are awareness. Aware right now. Aware of these words. Aware of your experience, aware of being aware. That awareness, that simple, obvious, always present awareness, is the quiet place, is peace itself, is what you've been searching for, and it's always here, even when your mind is busy, even when you're anxious, even when you're overwhelmed. The awareness that notices the busy mind, the anxiety, the overwhelm, that awareness is quiet, that awareness is peaceful, that awareness is the quiet place. You can rest in awareness. You can rest as awareness. You can recognize yourself as the awareness instead of as the contents of awareness. And in that recognition, there's peace. There's the quiet you've been searching for, not somewhere else, but right here, what you are, what you've always been. This is not a destination. This is a recognition. You're not becoming the quiet place. You're recognizing that you've always been the quiet place. You're not achieving peace. You're recognizing that you are peace. You're not finding awareness. You're recognizing that you are awareness. You are the quiet place, the spacious presence, the aware consciousness, the still point around which everything else moves. You've always been this. You'll always be this. You just forgot. You just got so caught up in the contents that you forgot about the container. So identified with the waves that you forgot about the ocean. But you're the ocean. You're not the waves. The waves appear on you, in you, as movements of you. But you're not the waves. You're the ocean, vast, deep, fundamentally undisturbed by the waves on your surface. You are the quiet place, not by becoming it, but by being it, by always having been it, by being unable to be anything else. You are awareness. You are presence. You are the quiet in which everything appears. And when you recognize this, when you rest as this, when you identify as this, instead of as the contents, there's peace. The peace you've been searching for. not achieved, not created, just recognized, just noticed, just seen as what's always been true. You are the quiet place your mind goes when it's finally safe. Not because your mind goes somewhere else, but because your mind recognizes what it is. Recognizes that it's appearing in something vaster than itself. Recognizes the quiet awareness that holds it, witnesses it, is fundamentally at peace regardless of what the mind is doing. You are that awareness. You are that peace. You are that quiet place, always, forever, right here, right now. What you are, what you've always been, the quiet place. You've been fragmented, split into parts. The part that works, the part that relates, the part that feels, the part that thinks, the part that performs, the part that hides. All these parts, separated, compartmentalized, kept from each other. And you've exhausted yourself trying to manage all these parts, trying to show the right part at the right time, trying to keep certain parts hidden, trying to coordinate all these different versions of yourself into something coherent. But now something's happening. The parts are coming together, not merging into one, but integrating, coming into relationship with each other, coming into awareness of each other, coming into a whole that includes all the parts without any part having to disappear. The part that's strong is meeting the part that's vulnerable. And instead of fighting, they're recognizing each other, recognizing that they're both you, both valid, both necessary, both allowed. The part that achieves is meeting the part that rests. And instead of one dominating the other, they're finding balance, finding rhythm, finding a way to coexist without constant conflict. The part that performs is meeting the part that's authentic. And instead of authentic having to wait until performance is over, they're learning to exist together, learning that you can be real and still navigate the world, that you don't have to choose between being yourself and being functional. All these parts, they're all you. They've always been you. You just kept them separated because you thought they couldn't coexist. You thought you had to be one thing at a time. You thought integration meant choosing which part to be and eliminating the others. But integration doesn't mean elimination. Integration means inclusion. Integration means all the parts getting to exist, all the parts being allowed, all the parts being welcomed into the wholeness of who you are. You're integrating. You're becoming whole, not by getting rid of parts, but by allowing all the parts to be present, to be known, to be included in your sense of self. And as the parts integrate, something eases. The exhaustion of constantly managing different parts lessens. The effort of keeping parts separated decreases. The energy that went into compartmentalization becomes available for actually living. You're more whole now, more integrated, more all love you present at once instead of different parts showing up in different contexts while others hide. And being whole feels different than being fragmented. Being whole feels solid in a way fragmentation never did. Feels coherent. Feels like there's actually a you instead of just a collection of parts performing as you. You're discovering that your complexity doesn't have to mean fragmentation. That you can be many things without being divided. That all your different aspects can coexist within a single, integrated self. The strong and the vulnerable, the achiever and the rester, the performer and the authentic, the light and the shadow. All of it, all of you, together, integrated, whole, and wholeness has its own wisdom. Wholeness knows things fragmentation couldn't know. Wholeness can make choices that serve all the parts, not just the dominant part. Wholeness can hold complexity without being overwhelmed by it. You're whole now, not perfect, not complete, not finished, but whole, all your parts present, all your aspects included, all of you here, integrated, allowed to exist together. And from this wholeness, life is simpler. Not because you have fewer parts, but because the parts aren't fighting anymore, aren't competing for dominance, aren't having to stay hidden or suppressed. All the parts are here, and they're working together, or at least coexisting peacefully, or at least aware of each other. And that awareness, that coexistence, that integration, that's what makes you whole. You're integrating, you're becoming whole, you're allowing all of yourself to exist. And in that allowing, in that integration, in that wholeness, there's peace. The peace of not being divided against yourself. The peace of all parts being allowed. The peace of being one whole complex human, instead of fragmented parts pretending to be one whole. Integrated, all of you, here together. Finally together, finally whole, finally you. You've been trying to figure everything out, to understand, to know, to have wisdom through knowledge, through understanding, through intellectual grasping of truth. But there's a different kind of wisdom, a deeper kind. The wisdom that comes not from knowing, but from being, not from understanding, but from experiencing, not from figuring out, but from being present with. This wisdom doesn't come through thought, doesn't come through analysis, doesn't come through reading or studying or learning information. This wisdom comes through presence, through being, through the direct experience of living. You're developing this wisdom now, the wisdom of simply being, the wisdom that knows without thinking, that understands without analyzing, that sees clearly without needing explanation. This wisdom knows when to speak and when to be silent, not because you've thought through the decision, but because being present with the moment makes the knowing obvious, natural, intuitive. This wisdom knows who's safe and who isn't, not because you've assessed them rationally, but because being present with them gives you direct knowing, body knowing, felt sense knowing that's more reliable than thought. This wisdom knows what you need, not because you've analyzed your needs, but because being present with yourself makes your needs clear, obvious, undeniable. You're learning to trust this wisdom, this being wisdom, this presence wisdom. This wisdom that doesn't come from your head, but from your whole being, responding to life directly, immediately, without the filter of thought. And this wisdom is often different from what you think you should do, what you've been told to do, what makes sense intellectually. This wisdom operates on a different level, a deeper level, a more fundamental level than thought can access. This is the wisdom your body has, the wisdom your heart has, the wisdom of your whole organism responding to reality as it actually is, not as you think it is, or wish it were, or have been told it should be. And this wisdom is reliable, more reliable than thought, because thought can be wrong. Thought can be based on false premises, incomplete information, biased perspectives. But being wisdom responds to reality directly, responds to what's actually here, responds to truth that exists before interpretation. You're wise now, not because you know a lot, but because you're present, because you're here, because you're being with life instead of constantly thinking about it. And this wisdom grows. The more you're present, the more wisdom you access. The more you trust being wisdom over thinking wisdom, the more reliable it becomes. The more you live from presence instead of from thought, the clearer everything becomes. This is the wisdom of elders, the wisdom of people who've lived long enough to know that understanding everything is impossible and is unnecessary. That being present is more important than knowing everything. That living is more important than understanding. You're accessing that wisdom now, not because you're old, but because you're present, because you're here, because you're being with life instead of just thinking about it. Wisdom doesn't come from having answers. Wisdom comes from being comfortable with questions, from being present with not knowing, from being okay with mystery, from recognizing that life is bigger than your understanding, and that's okay. You're wise when you know you don't know, when you're humble about the limits of your understanding, when you're present with what is instead of what you think should be, when you trust being overthinking. This is the wisdom you're developing, the wisdom of simply being, simply here, simply present, simply allowing life to be what it is and responding from presence instead of from thought. This wisdom says, be here, that's all, just be here, be present, be aware, be with what is. That's the wisdom. That's all the wisdom. That's the only wisdom you need. Be here, be present, be aware, be with what is. That's wisdom, simple wisdom, deep wisdom, the wisdom of being, the wisdom you've always had access to, the wisdom you're finally trusting. Be here, that's wisdom, that's all. That's everything. Just be here, present, aware, being. That's the wisdom of simply being, and it's enough. It's always been enough. It will always be enough. Be here. Wisdom, simple, deep, enough. You're feeling something you haven't felt in a long time, maybe ever. Gratitude, not for specific things, not for circumstances or achievements or possessions, but gratitude for existence itself, gratitude for being alive, gratitude for being here. This gratitude isn't about what you have, it's about that you are, that you exist, that somehow, impossibly, you're here, conscious, aware, experiencing this moment of being alive. And when you really consider it, when you really sit with the improbability of your existence, it's staggering, it's miraculous, it's impossible, and yet it's happening. You're happening. Life is happening through you. Consciousness is aware through you. Billions of years of cosmic evolution led to this moment, to you, to your particular consciousness experiencing this particular moment. Billions of improbable events had to occur in exactly the right sequence for you to exist. And they did. And you're here. And that's worthy of gratitude. Deep gratitude. Not earned gratitude. Not gratitude for getting something, but gratitude for being something. For being alive. For being conscious. For being here. You're grateful now. Grateful to be breathing. Grateful to be feeling. Grateful to be experiencing, grateful for the simple, profound fact of existence. And this gratitude isn't about positivity, isn't about pretending everything is good, isn't about denying difficulty or pain or struggle. This gratitude exists alongside everything else, alongside the difficulty, alongside the pain, alongside all of it. Because even when life is hard, you're alive to experience it. Even when you're struggling, you're here to struggle. Even when you're in pain, you exist to feel it. And existence itself, the bare fact of being here, being alive, being aware, that's worthy of gratitude. You could not exist. Most of the universe doesn't exist in the way you exist. Most of the universe is not conscious, not aware, not experiencing, but you are. Against all odds, against all probability, you exist, you're aware, you're here, and you're grateful for that. Grateful to be here, grateful to be alive, grateful to have this particular experience of consciousness, this particular life, this particular moment of being aware, of being alive. This gratitude changes things, makes things softer, makes things more precious, makes every moment feel like a gift, because every moment is a moment of existence, a moment of being alive, a moment of consciousness experiencing itself. You're grateful for ordinary moments now, grateful for breathing, grateful for sensing, grateful for the simple experience of being here, being alive, being aware, grateful for existence itself, not for what existence gives you, but for the fact of existing. And in this gratitude, there's peace, there's acceptance, there's a recognition that being here is enough, that being alive is enough, that existence itself is the gift. Just being, just here. Thank you. That's what you're feeling. Thank you for existence. Thank you for consciousness. Thank you for being. Thank you for this moment of being alive, being aware, being here. Thank you. Not to anyone in particular. Just thank you. Gratitude for existence itself. Gratitude for being. Gratitude for here. Gratitude for now. Gratitude for this impossible, improbable, miraculous fact. You exist. You're here. You're alive. Thank you for being, for existing, for here, for now, for this. Thank you. You've been looking for love, searching for it in people, in achievements, in anything that might finally give you the sense of being loved that you've been craving. But love isn't something you find. Love isn't something that comes from outside. Love is something that's always been here, always present, always surrounding you, holding you, being the very substance of existence itself. Not personal love, not romantic love, not even human love, but love as the fundamental nature of reality. Love as the force that holds everything together. Love as what existence is made of. You exist, and that's love. The universe saying yes to you, the cosmos making space for you, reality allowing you to be. That's love, not sentimental love, but fundamental love, the love that's implicit in being allowed to exist at all. You breathe, and breath is there for you. You need food, and food exists. You need water, and water exists. You need air, and air exists. Everything you need to exist has been provided, not by anyone, but by existence itself, by the loving nature of reality that allows life to be. This love doesn't care if you're good enough, doesn't care if you're successful, doesn't care if you achieve anything. This love loves you because you exist, because you're part of existence, because you're an expression of reality, becoming aware of itself. And you're feeling this now, this presence of love, not from a person, not from an achievement, but from existence itself, from being, from the simple fact of being here, being held by reality, being allowed to exist. The love is in the air you breathe. The love is in the light that allows you to see. The love is in the ground that holds you. The love is in your own beating heart that keeps you alive without you having to think about it. The love is everywhere, in everything, as everything. Love is what reality is made of. Love is what holds atoms together. Love is what makes life possible. Love is what allows consciousness to emerge. Love is the fundamental force of existence itself, and you're immersed in it. Always have been, always will be. You can't not be in love, because love is what you are, what everything is, what existence is. This love doesn't judge, doesn't evaluate, doesn't require earning. This love just is, just loves, just allows everything to be exactly what it is. Just says yes to existence, to being, to life. And you're part of that yes. You're part of that love. You're an expression of love, becoming aware of itself. Love loving itself. Love experiencing itself. Love being itself. You are loved, not by someone, but by existence itself, by reality, by the fundamental nature of what is. You're loved because you exist. Because love is what existence is. Because being here means being held by love, surrounded by love, made of love. And recognizing this changes everything. Because if you're always in love, if love is always present, if love is what you are and what everything is, then you're never alone, never unloved, never outside of love. You're love, experiencing itself, loving itself, being itself. You're what love looks like when love becomes conscious, when love becomes aware, when love looks at itself and knows itself and loves itself. The love you've been searching for has been here all along. Not in another person, not in achievement, not in circumstances, but here in existence itself, in being, in the simple fact of being here, being alive, being an expression of love. You are love. You are loved. You have always been loved. You will always be loved. Because love is not something that happens to you. Love is what you are, what everything is, what existence is. Love always present, always here, always holding you, always being you, always surrounding you, always love, just love, only love, everything love. You love, love you, love always love, here, now, forever, love. And so you arrive, finally, actually, completely, not somewhere else, but here, in yourself, home. You've been traveling your whole life, moving through experiences, moving through relationships, moving through achievements and failures and everything in between, always moving, always traveling, always looking for home. And now you're discovering you were home all along. You are home, not home as a place, but home as a state, home as being present with yourself, home as accepting yourself, home as being exactly where you are, exactly who you are, exactly what you are. This is home, not perfect, not finished, not complete, but home, real home. The home that's not about circumstances being right, but about being right with yourself, regardless of circumstances. You're home when you're present. You're home when you're accepting. You're home when you're not struggling with what is. You're home when you're just here, just being, just allowing yourself to exist exactly as you are. And you're home now, after all the searching, after all the traveling, after all the trying to find home somewhere else. You're home because you finally stopped leaving. You finally stopped abandoning yourself. You've finally stopped looking elsewhere for what's been here all along. Home is you, being with you, accepting you, allowing you, not judging you, not trying to change you, not wishing you were different, just being with you exactly as you are. That's home. That's what you've been looking for. And it's been here all along. You carry home with you because you are home. You don't need to find home because you never left home. You just thought you did. You just believed home was somewhere else. But home has always been here, in you, as you, what you are when you're present with yourself. And now you're present. Now you're here. Now you're home. Not because you've changed, not because you've become someone else, but because you've stopped trying to be someone else. You've stopped trying to go somewhere else. You've stopped leaving yourself in search of a better version, a different location, a more acceptable self. You're just here, as you are, present, accepting, home, and home feels like relief. Feels like exhaling after holding your breath for years. Feels like finally being able to relax because you don't have to go anywhere, be anyone, do anything to deserve being home. You're just home. You've always been home. You're finally recognizing it. Home is this body, this mind, this heart, this experience, this moment, this you, exactly as you are. Without improvement, without achievement, without becoming anything other than what you already are. You're home, and home is enough. Home is everything. Home is where you've always belonged, because home is what you are. You're home. Welcome home. Welcome to yourself. Welcome to being here. Welcome to being exactly what you are. Welcome to the home you've been carrying all along. Welcome to recognizing that you've never left. You've never been lost. You've never been homeless. You've always been home. You've just been looking elsewhere. But now you see it. Now you feel it. Now you know it. You're home here, now in yourself, as yourself, with yourself. Home, finally home, always home, forever home. You're home. There's a peace in you now that doesn't make sense, that can't be explained, that exists for no reason except that it exists. Not the peace of having everything figured out, not the peace of perfect circumstances, not the peace of finally achieving what you've been trying to achieve. Just peace. Inexplicable peace. Peace that exists alongside everything else. Alongside difficulty. Alongside uncertainty. Alongside all the things that used to prevent peace. This peace doesn't depend on anything. Doesn't require anything. Doesn't need circumstances to be right, or problems to be solved, or life to be good. This peace just is, exists, is present, regardless of what else is happening. And you can't explain it, can't understand it, can't even fully describe it, because this peace is beyond understanding, beyond explanation, beyond anything your mind can grasp or articulate. This peace is what you are at your deepest level. Not something you achieve, not something you create, just something you are. Something that's revealed when everything else falls away. Something that's always been here, underneath everything, holding everything, being the ground of everything. You rest in this peace now, not perfectly, not constantly, but more and more. You recognize it, you return to it, you allow yourself to be held by it. And this peace asks nothing from you, doesn't require you to be different, doesn't require you to understand it, doesn't require you to maintain it. This peace just is, just holds you, just exists as what you fundamentally are, beneath all the noise, all the struggle, all the constant effort. This is the peace that passes understanding, the peace that doesn't make sense, the peace that exists for no reason, the peace that is beyond explanation, beyond comprehension, beyond anything your thinking mind can grasp. And yet, it's here, it's real. It's more real than anything you can think about, more fundamental than any understanding, more true than any explanation. This peace is what reality is made of, what existence is, what consciousness is when it's not busy being anything in particular. Just peace, just stillness, just the fundamental okayness of being. Peace. You're at peace now. You don't know why. You can't explain how, but you are at peace, deeply at peace. Beyond any peace you've ever known or understood or thought possible. This peace is beyond understanding. And that's perfect, because understanding isn't what you need. Peace is what you need, and peace is what you have, what you are, what holds you, always, beyond understanding, beyond explanation, beyond reason, just peace. Deep peace, fundamental peace. The peace that's always been here. The peace you are. Peace, and now you breathe. Really breathe. All the way down, all the way out. Complete breath, full breath. The breath that signals completion. Not completion of a task, not completion of achievement, but completion of a cycle, completion of a journey, completion of the search that has finally ended in finding what was never lost. You breathe, and the breath goes all the way down, fills you completely, and then releases completely. Nothing held, nothing protected, just full breath in, full breath out, complete. This breath is different from all the breaths before. This breath knows. This breath carries the knowing of having arrived, of being home, of being finally, actually, completely here. You breathe and you're present for the breath. All of it, the beginning, the middle, the end, the pause between breaths, all of it, complete presence, complete breath, complete being. This is the breath of someone who's finally safe, finally home, finally allowed to fully exhale, because there's nothing left to hold on to, nothing left to protect, nothing left to do except breathe and be, and rest in what is. You're breathing fully now, deeply now, completely now, and each breath is a yes. Yes to being here, yes to being alive. Yes to being exactly what you are. Yes to this moment. Yes to all of it. Yes, the breath completes. The cycle completes. The journey completes. Not because you've reached somewhere, but because you've recognized you've always been here. You've always been home. You've always been exactly where you needed to be. And now you breathe with that knowing. Breathe with that recognition. Breathe with the peace of completion. Not the completion of doing, but the completion of being. The completion of finally, actually, completely being here. Breathe, complete breath, full breath, all the way in, all the way out. Nothing held, nothing protected, just breath, just being, just here, complete. You're complete, not finished, not done, but complete. Whole here, present, breathing, being, home, breathe, complete, here, now you, and in this moment, you understand, there is only here, only now, only this, everything else, past, future, elsewhere, is imagination. Only this is real, only now exists, only here is where you are, you're here now, you've always been here now, you'll always be here now, because here now is the only place that exists, the only time that's real, the only location in reality, and you're it. You're here now. You're the experiencing of this moment. You're the awareness of being here. You're the consciousness that knows itself in this eternal now. Not the now that passes, but the now that doesn't pass, the eternal now. The now that's always here, the now that never becomes then, the now that is all there is. You exist in eternal now. You've always existed in eternal now. You'll always exist in eternal now, because now is not a point in time. Now is what time appears in. Now is what contains all moments. Now is what you are. And being here in this eternal now is enough, is everything, is all there is all you need, is all you are, here, now, this, you, being, aware, present, alive, complete, whole, home, peace, love, light, here, now, always, forever, eternal, you here, this is it, this is what you've been looking for, not somewhere else. Not sometime else, but here, now this. The eternal now of being here, the infinite present moment, that's all there is. The forever now that you are, you're here, now, always here, always now, eternally present, infinitely here, forever now, here. This is the quiet place your mind goes when it's finally safe, not somewhere else, but here, recognizing itself as the eternal now, recognizing itself as presence, recognizing itself as what has always been here, always been safe, always been home. Now you are the quiet place. You are the eternal. Now you are here, forever, here, always here, only here, here. Now this, you, being, presence, awareness, peace, love, home, safe, quiet, still, here, always, here, always, here, forever, here, eternally, here, eternally, here, now here, here, asterisk, and in the profound silence that follows. There's nothing more that needs to be said, nothing more that needs to be understood, nothing more that needs to be achieved or found or become. Just this, just here, just now, just presence, aware of itself, just consciousness, being conscious, just the quiet place, recognizing itself as what you've always been. The search is over, not because you found something, but because you recognized you never left. You've always been here. You've always been the quiet place. You've always been home. You've always been safe. You've always been enough. You've always been exactly what you are. Presence, awareness, being here now, eternal, infinite, complete. Rest here. Stay here. Be here. You've always been here. You'll always be here. You are here. Forever here. Eternally now. Always this. Only this. Just this. Here. Now you. Home. Safe. Quiet. Peace. Love. Being. Here. Always here. Forever here. Eternally here. Here now. Home.